Frank, you suck.
Clark, you're recording this, I'm assuming.
Oh, you know me too well.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to episode 100 of the Schmoedown Rundown. I am your host, Brad Gilmore. We are excited. We have a bevy of guests, if I can use that term. We have a bevy of guests, but first I got to go around the table and introduce the illustrious cast of characters that are joining us for the 100th episode, numero 100, if you want it in Spanish. First, he's coming from Chicago, Illinois. He is a proud shill and always will be. My man, the numbers man, Frank Janisch.
Yeah, that's right, proud shill, and I wear that badge proudly about the Schmoedown and anything else I like, so deal with it. Episode 100. That's pretty crazy to me to think that I've done almost 100 of these. The show's been around for 100. That's pretty cool.
The fact that people can tolerate you surprises me as well. Yeah. Aaron Turner, the creator of the Schmoedown Rundown, is joining us and will be on the entire broadcast. He is joining us as a guest host. Aaron, 100 episodes. How do you feel?
I feel great. As Frank so eloquently pointed out, I was on like 62 episodes. Thank you for pointing that out, Frank.
That's what I'm here for.
So, yeah, so
that's why I'm still here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and go after yourself, Frank. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the pleasantries.
Before we get to our first guest, which is a huge guest that's going to be joining us, I got to give some love to the producer that makes all of this happen, Mr. Chris Clark. Chris, how are you feeling today?
I'm super excited. This is a huge production, guys. I hope you enjoy episode 100. 100 is going to rock. We're going to rock this sucker to the end of time. And I'm going to be an octopus, so bear with me. And hopefully any graphical stuff you guys can just keep up with. So, yep, it's all live. Nothing is wrong when it's live.
That is right. Now, before we introduce our guests, I will say about Chris Clark. I love Chris Clark. He's been a great producer. I did have this envelope, and this envelope says, Chris Clark will say, right? Hashtag, and it's sealed. It's sealed. So I'm just going to open this up right now. I'm not a magician, but I just wanted to open this up, right? I said Chris Clark will say this. This is what I said. I said Chris Clark will say, this show is going to rock, so let's rock this sucker. Let's rock it until the end of time. I did get that right. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I know my producer. But our first guest of the evening is a big guest. He is joining us for the first time live on the 100th edition of the Schmoedown Rundown. He is referred to as the GOAT. And for those of you who are not sports fans, that means the greatest of all time, the former singles champion, the man, the myth, the legend, dangerous Dan Moreau. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How's it going? I'm sorry it took me so long to get here.
No,
it's all right.
How dare you?
Well,
just kidding, of course.
Like my 11th grade girlfriend once told me, well worth the wait. We are going to be talking about all things Schmoedown with you, but thank you for coming on to the show. You got a big match going on September the 8th live. How do you feel about this live match you got coming up? You're teaming with your guy Roca. It's got an interesting matchup.
Former enemies make the best friends, and that's why I was so excited when I found out that I was getting teamed up with Roca. I feel like he and I are very good. We were great rivals, and I think we're going to be better teammates, and part of it is that we complement each other very well. I think we both fill in some weaknesses that the other one has, and I hope that as the game progresses, and hopefully, you got to get past that first match. If there's one thing I've learned recently, it's that you take it one game at a time. So if we're lucky enough to get past our first match and move on, I think we're going to make a really good combination, and I'm super excited to start.
And definitely, you're no stranger to a live crowd event. With movie fights, you've been involved with that before. But you opened up the door already, and I know Janish wanted to talk about it. So Janish, go right ahead.
Yeah, it's obviously the Andrew Guy match. It's your first match back after a long hiatus. I don't think anybody was prepared for which the fashion in which the match was going to play out. What was being in that situation? It seems like for the first time in your Schmoedown career. What was that like being in that setting? Because it's a new studio, it's a kind of a new format of the game. There's a lot of new elements to the game that have come into the Schmoedown since you last played. With everything going on, how are you? I guess I'm asking, how are you weathering the storm and trying to find a way to a victory in that match?
I mean, listen, it's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You know, you see it happen and you just can't stop it. Look, the guy played a great game. We both had, I think he was one question up on me in the first round. But I think we both had a pretty solid first round. And round two, I mean, it's part luck and it's part skill. And I got the wrong end of both of those things in round two. I didn't get the wheel. The category I got was not one of my strengths, something I did not do very well in. And also, to be honest, I hadn't played a 3-round match in a really long time. So even I was a little surprised by how fast that game was going. And if you get backed into a corner, especially in a 3-round match, you run out of real estate super quick. And I knew I had to hit those questions in round 3. I got my first 2, but that 5-pointer, I just flat out didn't know it. So, there's so many elements to this game, and there's no such thing as a gimme, and there's no such thing as a sure thing. And it was just one of those things where everything that could possibly have aligned against me, and it wasn't my day. Hopefully I'll have better days ahead of me, but it wasn't my day. It happens.
Did you know anything about Andrew Guy going into that match other than, maybe some of the promos that you saw? Did you really have any real sense of who he was and the caliber or of play or anything like that?
If I'm being honest, no. In the sense of like his rise kind of came after I left the game, and I certainly kept up with individual players, but I sort of lost the track on just the goings on as far as the storyline and where everybody was on the board and what the pieces were happening. So I didn't really know. I heard that he'd come out and done something at the free for all, and I'm like, okay. And then, I actually, everyone was telling me that it was going to be an easy match, but I actually did, a few nights before the match, I went back and looked at some of his recent performances, and I didn't see the basis for why everyone was saying it was such a gimme, because going into that game, I'd seen his last couple, and he hadn't done too bad. So he was not somebody I was very familiar with, but, maybe that played in his favor. I don't know.
Well, we're really excited to see what you got in store for everybody at the live event on September 8th. Let's go back. How did you initially get involved? We talked about movie fights, and I'd seen you do some movie fight stuff, but how did you get involved with the Movie Trivia Schmoedown?
Oh, wow. That's a long journey. I guess it goes back to we here at Screen Junkies did a show. I still do it occasionally, but it used to be weekly, called the Screen Junkies Show with Hal Rudnick, and Christian and Mark came on as guests on that show. That's how I originally was acquainted with them. And then way back at the beginning of movie fights, they used to do Schmoes Know. We used to do movie fights out of the same exact studio.
Okay.
And so we just were very friendly. And before the current iteration, Mark Riley and I had been teamed up. We were team champs at the first iteration of the Schmoedown. And so when they were looking to relaunch the show, Christian came to me and said, hey, we want to put together this match, and we think it'd be a fun one, and it's one that people seem to be asking for. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah. I didn't have any knowledge that it would become like this thing of like, okay, now you're going to keep going. It was literally just like, do you want to come do the show? Like, yeah, I love it. I love doing it. And it just sort of grew from there.
Frank?
I think from that point on, I think your reputation with movie fights, going up against John Campio, who was a big personality at Collider at the time. It was actually the first time I was introduced to you was through the Schmoedown. After you had won, and you talk about you didn't know about going on, was it sort of laid out to you that by Christian or whoever, I think Christian probably, said this is kind of where I want things to go, or where you could go if you keep on winning, that your path is basically aiming towards a title at this point?
There was a certain point where, I won my first match, and then I think maybe even I went on. I think after that, he sort of said, "Hey, here's where I think there's a belt, and if you win this and that, if you're going to play Mance, and you're going to go on and like, okay, sure." It was really just kind of like a match by match thing, like, oh, if I win this one, okay, fine. But as we went on, it became like, if you win this, but if you lose, then this, or if it's good, so then it's like, okay, so now you're juggling multiple scenarios. But yeah, it's been really fun and interesting to watch how things have grown, even just since it relaunched, because it's just exploded as far as the number of people and personalities and leagues and players and everything intersecting. It's pretty insane. And if I'm being honest, I don't know how Christian keeps track of it all, because it's crazy the amount of stuff that's going on.
Well, I think it's driven him to the point of insanity already. So I think that's the only thing that he can do. But, so you just kind of took it like a game-by-game basis, but the storyline aspects of it, right? Did you really get involved? Did you enjoy that? Because to me, it seemed like you were more of a player's player. You didn't really care so much about the auxiliary stuff.
The thing is, Alliance, you were asked to join the Lions, then you were like, sure. Not really fully understanding what could go on, or anyone at that point really would understand what that exactly meant. Was that kind of just like a thing that was last second in a sense?
That was probably that for me was my first inkling of like what the larger universe could be, because I've never been like I'm just not a great actor, if I'm being honest. So like I never was just like, oh, I have this character that I have to do. I mean, I think I can do like a persona, but like I'm not like, there's so many great people that do such amazing like character work, and that's not me. And the Lions Den thing, when I joined, like that was on me, because Chris, I don't remember who approached me. I think it might have been Christian. However it was coming across, they're like, oh, it'd be this cool moment, and I'm like, yeah. And then when I kind of realized what was involved, it's the circumstance that I was in. I couldn't commit the amount of time to sustain that, in a sense of like, I'm always there, I'm there, I'm present, I'm able to do all this stuff. So that was kind of on me, in the sense that like I sort of stepped into that not quite understanding the scope of it, and then had to sort of pull back and just be like, hey, it's not your fault, but I don't think that I can bring to this particular aspect what you need, just because of my availability and everything else.
Yeah, I think Christian talked about that when you were first coming back. He talked about how it was you didn't like the fact that you couldn't commit to something like that in the first place, but now that you were coming back, a little bit more involved in a storyline aspect with the Five Horsemen, and so that was part of, if you were going to come back to the Schmoedown, you were going to give it more than you did the first time around. Well,
I mean, that's certainly a discussion we had, having gone through the first time, was I sort of laid out what I was able to do, and what I was willing to, we sort of mapped out the boundaries of it. So gotcha. In a sense of like, here's what I can commit to, and let's plan around that, so that we don't kind of end up in a situation again where it's like, I can't gotcha. Do it. So.
Now, Dan, I got a sort of a wrestling angle for you, and then Aaron, then it's all yours. You're next in line here. But I wanted to talk about, did you have any sort, I always like to ask people this, because I come from wrestling. That's what I work in. I work in pro wrestling. Did you have any kind of pro wrestling background? Because you caught my attention just from the New World Order stuff, right? Did you have any, did you watch as a kid? Were you aware of it? Did Christian have to sit you down and say, okay, this is what kayfabe is. This is what this term means. This is a heel. This is a baby.
Yeah, I know. That was starting from scratch on that. The New World Order thing is actually, that was sent to me by a fan who just sent it to me in the mail and was just like, hey, I made this, and I loved it. And if you watch that match, when I come out wearing that shirt, Christian didn't know that I had that. Like, I was like, all right, nice. I know that they love wrestling, and I was, I know a little bit about wrestling, but not a whole lot. And so you can kind of tell when I walk out, Christian's like, oh my God, he's wearing this shirt. He didn't know that either. So no, that's definitely not a strength of mine, as far as like what is the, when do you drop it, when do you not, what's the level of commitment, and how far do you take it, and all that stuff. And honestly, it's stuff that I've struggled through a little bit. Even coming back, there's so much more of an element to it now than it was even when I left, that if I'm being honest, even my match coming back, it caught me a little off guard, just in the sense of it went a lot. It was way more intense and went a lot further than I had ever experienced inside of the game itself.
Because Andrew Guy can be very Andrew Guy-y.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I come from a different, even in just the year that I'd been gone, like there was kind of a, and I, playing with Roca and everything, like Roca was like the biggest heel there was, but there was, when we played, there was a certain thing of like, you do that before the match, and then the game starts and you're just two competitors playing a game. And so having that come into the ring was something even that I was not prepared for, or had even realized would happen. And that's probably just because I'd lost track of the game a little bit. But yeah, there's a much bigger element to it now, even than when I began. And it's been a bit of a learning curve.
Aaron, you got the Rowdy Ronda Rousey shirt on. What's your question for Dan?
Thank you very much for noticing that. Dan, I just kind of have a question about, you kind of tiptoed around it there, like how the game evolves. Like, you won the title, you lost the title, you took a bit of a retirement there. Mm-hmm. When you come back, when do you notice the game has changed? Because in that time that you were gone, we saw the evolution of newer players and people that made like a really big impact. When did you know that it was different? Can you speak to that?
Round two.
Okay.
It wasn't about round two.
That was sort of in the middle of that game was when I kind of realized, this is different than I remember. So I would say that was a little bit of a, like when I say I have a learning curve, I meant like an in-game learning curve.
The best steep hill. Best times are learned in game. Do you see anybody of this, like before you retired, or as you're retired, you're watching the Schmoedown, you're getting caught up? Is there anybody that you see that you haven't played yet that you're like, I want to get in there with him? Not necessarily because of like, I want to beat them because they're villainous, but I think we'd have a really great match. Anybody you see like that?
Well, I feel like I played Clark and Sam both very early in their careers, and I think that they would both play me way closer, and more than likely, or at least just as likely as not, beat me if we played now. I had the edge of experience at that point on them, but now they have it over me. And so I think those would be interesting matches. I think that Rachel Cushing is maybe the most well-rounded player in the Schmoedown as far as like look at what she's done in the various leagues. I would love to play her. And then there are people like kind of the original players that just because I wasn't in the tournaments, I have never faced Bibiani. I've never faced Snyder. I've never faced a lot of people and Drake. Well, I faced Draco in the free for all. You saw how that turned out. But there are even some people that have been around for a while that I've just never had a chance to play just due to the circumstances of when I came in. So there's definitely names out there that I think would be really, really, really good matches.
Let me pose one weird question. Let's just make it weird. Like, sure. You're a Florida State guy. John Roca's a Florida State guy. Christian's a Florida State guy. Mark Riley's a USC guy. Miss Movies is a USC person. Is there any room in the Schmoedown for like a collegiate team challenge? Because it's something like I've always been like weirdly fascinated with. I'm like
a Survivor Series collegiate team challenge?
Like the Penn State, Josh McCouga and Scott Mance team. I'm like, this could be something super fun.
Oh, you just pitched the beginnings of like 3 great teams. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, get it done.
I'd love to see that. I'm sure that's all Christian wants is another league to keep track of.
Well, that's exactly what he wants.
The collegiate league.
Yeah.
Now, Dan, I got to ask you this, though. So you won the title, lost the title, won the title, lost the title. And then after you lost, you said, I'm stepping away. I lost the title. I'm relieved of my responsibilities to the Schmoedown at this time. I'm stepping away. One person, though, who recently pulled a similar move is Sam Levine, somebody you've played before, but he didn't wait to lose the championship. He had both of them, and he just decided to leave them on the table and walk away. How do you see that? How do you feel about Sam Levine walking away as champion?
I think it's more complex than a lot of people make it, in the sense of like, I think when you've had, I was lucky enough to have it for a while, and Sam, I think, had it. I don't know the number on defenses and actual time, but he had it for a really long time. And there is a chance. I think there does come a point where you're like, what else do I have to prove? Like, is it counter? What does me holding it right now achieve, other than people wanting new blood? Like, do I just have to hang around until I lose it? So. I understand both sides of it when people say like you keep it till you lose it, but kind of having it in a similar position, I understand that thinking of just like, I won it, I've defended it, I've had it for a long time. I'm kind of ready for a new challenge, and I'm ready to, like I said, one of the reasons when I retired, one of the reasons that I did was because I was ready, as someone involved with it, to see some new blood and some fresh faces. And so I can relate to that mindset. I understand both sides of it, but I can definitely relate to Sam's decision.
Now, we all, on this call right now, we've all gotten random calls out of the blue from Christian Harloff before, whether it be when he's driving home, coming from work, he's got an idea he wants to run by you. Yeah. When did he reach out to you and say, hey, Dan, we got this live event. I got this idea, 5 horsemen, you're a surprise. I mean, was he the one who called you, and did he have to reel you in and convince you a little bit?
I'm trying to, definitely the answer to that is yes, because, I knew that I didn't want to just do it for no reason. Like, I wanted, A, the timing had to be right, and B, it was like, I didn't want it to just be like, or to be a situation where I come back and then I immediately have to withdraw again because, I overcommitted. So there was definitely a lot of back and forth and figuring out, like, is this the best way? Is that the best way? What's the best opening? And, I think I did it half right. I think that live event, like, that moment was incredible. Like, that's a moment that I'm never going to forget. That was a really, really incredible moment. And I love doing that. And I love those guys. I love being teamed up with those guys. I didn't know Nost that much going in. But obviously the rest of those guys I've known for quite a long time. And I love Nost. Like, we're getting to know each other, and he's a great dude. So that I've loved. Like, I thought that was a great move to kind of put that together, and I was really happy with that. I don't think that I chose for myself. I didn't put myself in the best position coming back, only because that was a no-win scenario for me, in the sense of, like, if I win, well, then that was expected. And if I lose, then it's the greatest upset of all time, which is what happened. So I think I got it half-half, 50-50. I'll take it, though. The live event was worth it. That moment was worth it. That was so much fun to do.
Oh, absolutely. Frank?
I actually wanted to talk real quick about last year's Collision or the year before that. When you faced the triple threat, you win the belt, and then you face Sam Levine right after that. Was that something you knew was a possibility, that Sam would challenge, that you're going to have a second match? And what's that like, having to play 2 matches back to back like that
against 3 top competitors?
Yeah. No, that was. I knew that it was I think by that time Sam had that in his back pocket for a while, and so I figured that might be a possibility. I was so kind of focused on wrapping up what had just happened that when he walked out, it was. It almost didn't faze me, in the sense of just like I'd already gone through two guys, so it's like, well, what's one more at this point, But I kind of suspected that it might happen, and you just got to. For me, it's just you got to take it a question at a time, because if you sit and look at it, the whole thing laid out in front of you, it can be pretty daunting. And I think, honestly, the match when I came back, I kind of cheated a little bit and did allow it all to kind of lay out in front of me, and started doing the calculus in my head and figuring out, like, oh my God, where am I in the game? How many points am I behind? If I'm 10 points behind, then it's this, and if I don't get this question right, and it just gets in your head, and you're not focusing on what you're doing, you're focusing on what's next. So I think I need to work on getting that back. The ability to just sort of be like, okay, let's just focus on what are we doing right now? What's going on this second? What's the answer to this question? And then we're going to move on to the next one.
We have so many players, though, who come on here and they have strategies. You know, when you talked about Andrew Guy and Ben Bateman is a guy who has a strategy coming in. He wants to fool you, wants to trick you at every point he can. Do you have a strategy, or is your strategy, I'm going to listen to the question and answer the question?
I mean, I didn't have a strategy in the sense of like, you know, oh, if this happens, I'm going to do this, and if that happens, I'm going to do that, and if they pick this, but I have to now because everyone else is. You know, I hear about a lot of other players using strategy now, and not only that, but you know, the game has been elevated. So you know, I am now, whereas before I kind of would brush up on a couple things before a match and be like, okay, I'm going to trust my knowledge and put it up against their knowledge, and we'll see what happens. I'm at the point now where it's sort of like, okay, I need to actively start plugging these gaps, plugging these holes. What do I not know? I need to see that movie. I've never seen that movie. This movie's been asked about 2 times. Maybe I need to see that one. Like, I think that you got to keep up with the game. And part of that is rolling with everybody else. Everyone else is up in their game. That means that, you know, if you don't, you're going to get left behind. And I certainly don't want that to happen.
So I had a conversation with Booker T one day, who obviously I work with here in Houston. And he told me that one time after a WCW show, Ric Flair came up to him and he said, Booker, you're the greatest wrestler we have in this company right now. And Book told me after Ric Flair, who he thought was the greatest of all time, tells him that, he had this crazy amount of pressure on him to go out there and give a 5-10-star match every time he went out. You're called the GOAT. People say that you're the greatest of all time when it comes to this game. Booker grew to resent that comment a little bit from Flair. He didn't like having that label on him. Do you resent being called the GOAT? Do you like that, or do you hate that?
I certainly don't resent it. I think it's really flattering that people would say that. I don't think that it's something that's like settled. I understand that there's a debate around it, and there should be. There's always a debate around that. Like, there's no sport really almost anywhere that people you know, say every single person that follows that sport says that this person is undeniably the greatest person to ever do a thing. Like, I can't think of a time where you can find someone that's just like, oh yeah, they're definitely the greatest and there's no debate. It's super flattering to me. I think that it does carry a little bit of pressure in the sense of, like, you know, the pressure in my last match, I think, was largely because that was something that people put on that match. It was like, hey, listen, he's and Guy leaned into that. It's a way to hype up. So if you beat me, then you've beaten the GOAT. So I think there's some pressure that comes with it, but I don't resent it. It's really flattering. It's really honoring because there's so many great players, and I think part of it too is, like, it's not something that you earn and then you keep forever without trying. I'm super flattered that people think that, and if I want people to keep thinking that, then I've got to keep earning it. I don't expect to just have it forever. That's a disrespect to the people that are working their ass off to advance in the game.
Absolutely. Now we have a couple more minutes with you, so Frank, I'm gonna throw it to you.
All right. So with the live event coming up and all these new teams for the Anarchy tournament, we recently learned of a team name from Lon Harris and JTE, Evil Geniuses. Now, I suspect you can't reveal your team name yet. I think no. Christian probably. Let's keep that. But what are some of the other names you guys were mulling over that maybe you could say that it's not going to be your team name? That you're like, what if it's this? And then you're like, we go with something else.
Can I make any? I'm trying to think if there's any, because honestly, like, we didn't do like a volume brainstorm. Like John and I actually got together and thought for a while, but we didn't throw out like 50 possibilities. We got it down to like 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. And if I'm being honest, I don't know if we've 100% settled on which exact one we're going to use. So I don't want to throw anything out there because it could end up being something that there's one I think that we're pretty sure it's going to be. But I don't want to tip the hat just in case we we change our minds. So, but I'm excited. I love, Evil Geniuses is a great name. I think that's the fun part of this sort of shake up in the teams division is you're getting to see these crazy combinations and new teams and stuff. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, Dan, before we get you out of here, September the 8th, live event, tickets still available. John Roca, Dan Moreau will be teaming together in this Anarchy tournament, but last question for you is, going forward, obviously you probably want to win this tournament. I think that's safe to say. But what do you want to accomplish for the rest of the season here in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown?
For the rest of the season,
Yeah.
I think that obviously I want to get back into singles play at some point. Now I don't know how that's going to shake out with the way that the tournament and everything, but I'd like to get back into singles play at some point. And then I currently have a favorite in the Inner Geekdom competition that I'm rooting for, and who I will root for and support as long as she is part of that division. But if she at some point ever decided to bow out of that division, that is something that intrigues me, just because it's a different way to play the game.
Wow.
And so I don't know. There's so many different fun ways to do the Schmoedown that I would like to explore any avenue that's open to me, providing that I've got the time and ability to do it.
Well, there you go. There he is, the greatest of all time. Dan Moreau will be live with John Roca, the Outlaw, teaming in a big match at the live event. And let me ask you one more thing.
Sure.
Any interest in ever facing Andrew Guy again?
Nah.
Okay.
He called me out. He set himself with a huge task, and he achieved it. And all credit to him. He played a great game. But as far as I'm concerned, that's something that's an accomplishment of his that he can hold on to. But I'm not really interested in adding to that. He's moved on, and I moved on, and I'm perfectly happy for the two of us to just go our separate ways and see where the competition takes us in the future.
Well, we'll see what happens with the new moral order. Dangerous Dan Moreau, thank you so much for joining us on the 100th edition of the Schmoedown Rundown. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Of course. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
My
Dan.
pleasure. It won't be another 100 episodes. I'll be back.
Absolutely.
Okay, we appreciate that. We like it. That is Dangerous Dan Moreau, the greatest of all time, Frank Janisch, joining us here on Rundown 100.
Yeah, we did two things. We got Dan Moreau, and we made it to episode 100. So
yes,
mission
job,
accomplished.
guys.
Mission
Good job,
accomplished, everybody.
Now, Aaron Turner, you started this show way back in the day. How did this idea first come about? I don't think I know this story because I took over for you, of course, when we talked about it on the Brad Gilmore show, which, by the way, free plug. But talk about it. How did you start, and why did you start the Rundown?
Well, I saw this show called what was it called? The Schmoeville After Show with Ryan Selling and Brian Davids, and I said, "How can I rip this off?" No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It really didn't start that way, but it's just what I'm a Sports Center guy. I like First Take. I like those kind of shows, like Talking Smack and like the post shows. I'm a big fan of those, and I thought like the Schmoedown as a whole, like it's a game. It's a game show. It's got these different elements. What if there was an after show where people could just talk about it and fans would get involved, and we could have competitors from the show on, and we'll build kayfabe, we'll build storylines through the show, we'll build all of these things. And I was like, I think people would be into that. I think we could do something with that. So I shot my shot, as they say, and I tweeted Christian, and I was like, hey, man, what about this? And he's like, I mean, we kind of already have a show like that, but okay, knock yourself out. So, I went to Schmoeville and recruited from that page, and that's where I met Franklin Delano Janish and some other people that were like, yeah, let's do this. So it all started with a tweet, as they say.
It all started with a tweet, and here we are now 100 episodes later. While we await our next phenomenal guest to join here on the 100th episode of the Schmoedown Rundown, why don't we talk a little bit about the week that was Frank Janisch? There were a few matches that occurred, and I think we should talk about one in particular because it was a historic match in many different ways. But we talked about Andrew Guy a lot here with Dan Moreau. We didn't get to talk too much about Ben Bateman, but I do think that our next guest here on Rundown 100 will definitely have something to say about Ben the Boss Bateman because he had a match with him this week, and he is actually the guy who made me a fan initially of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, the one who brought in the wrestling element, committed to it, and now here we are, 100 episodes on the Schmoedown Rundown later. He joins us right now, the former singles division champ, the former team champ, and maybe future Ultimate Team Schmoedown Anarchy winner. He is the one and only, the Outlaw, John Roca. John, are you there?
Yeah, what's up? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you. You sound like you're in a crowded room. What's going on? What are you up to right now, man?
Well, here's the deal, boys. I finally broke down and bought a 4K television, so I'm replenishing all my other DVDs with some 4K DVDs. So I'm over here at the Best Buy, chilling out, doing that shit.
Of course you are.
Why not?
I'm always moving, boys. I'm always moving. What's going on?
Well, you are the outlaw, and you were victorious this week. So I guess let's start there. How do you feel?
Yeah.
How do you feel? Spoiler alerts for everybody out there. You won the Friday match against Ben the Boss Bateman. I think that maybe for one of the few times in your career, I don't remember what the official stat line was, but Ben Bateman had a lot going behind him. He had a lot of steam going into this match. How did you feel going into the match against Ben?
I'll tell you what, sometimes you can over-prepare, and with Ben, I had to kind of chill all that out. I didn't want to overthink it. I didn't want to prepare too much. I didn't want to get too crazy, so I just thought, look, if I know it, I know it. I'm where I'm at already, emotionally and mentally. If he beats me, he beats me, but I'm confident of where I'm at, and it just happened to work out. Ben missed some questions that he probably kicks himself in the butt about now, but, that's the way it goes sometimes. No matter how much you prepare, it just isn't your day, and it wasn't Ben's day, and I took him out. That's all there is to it.
You've been doing this for a long time, though, John. I mean,
yeah.
You've been doing this for a long time here in the Schmoedown. Why do you keep doing it? Where do you find the energy, the passion, the fire to bring out the outlaw all the time?
Look, I appreciate you saying that. It all comes down to the fact that I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. The thing that sticks in my craw always, and people give me crap about, is, he never defended any of his belts one time. And that's hard for me. I'm no fluke. I'm no Trent Dilfer, man. I'm a two-time champion. And so for me, it's like wanting to get it one more time. And, Bibbs holds the belt now. He's on fire. He is just looks like a very strong champion, difficult to dethrone. We'll see what happens with Guy and Riley, but my goal is to get there one-on-one with Bibbs. We have some unfinished business due to his dramatic leaving of the Four Horsemen. So I owe him a butt kicking in my mind. And I want that belt back around my waist one more time.
Frank.
John, how you doing? That's right. After your match with Snyder, how did that affect you going forward for this whole year? Did you think you would get another crack at it? I mean, when you wanted, I know you wanted that win very badly.
Yeah.
But to take a defeat from a Patriot and Jeff Snyder in a singles league now, even though you had dispatched JTE in your previous match, was there some sort of were you trying to hope that if I can take out Snyder, I can kind of avenge these team losses in a sense? And how did that play into walking into? I know you talked about you wanted to keep it a little bit more calm, but getting back into the ring after a loss, how does that play with your mindset?
Yeah, you have to kind of, like Brad was saying, I've been in this league a long time, and so you kind of have to roll with what's happening match to match. You can't prepare for every match in the same way. Sometimes your preparation is off, sometimes your preparation is on. I thought my preparation with Snyder was on point. I have no shame about that. I didn't miss a question that I should have known. I just didn't know it. And so for that, I didn't beat myself up too much. It was more what happened afterwards when he played Bibiani and rolled over like a dog to show his belly. That's the thing that grated on me, because if he was going to quit, he should have just quit when I was playing him, and then I could have taken on Bibiani myself. I
heard a lot of people were giving him stuff about that match in the studio. A lot of people were saying, why didn't you play it this way? Why did you, as you say, just kind of roll over? I mean, does that kind of play, no matter who it is, that just doesn't sit well with you?
No, it doesn't. Because, I mean, those of us who walk into the ring, we want to win. If you don't want to win and you're walking in that ring and you're going to give up and you're going to take 70s and not even take multiple choice and not even try, then it's an insult to those of us who fight hard to get into positions to win those belts. And, we see now from the recent posts from the Crusher, some people take this very seriously, really care about it, give their hearts to it, and see someone like Snyder, who's obviously held the belt for a year, but never really been a serious singles champion or contender. To see him roll over like that, it's just frustrating as hell because those of us who love the game, we love the thrill of the competition. Winning is great, but it's the competition. It's like a drug. We want to get back in that ring as soon as possible. Like Top Gun, we got to get me back up in that plane. That's what it feels like.
Can't wait for Top Gun 2.
Hello.
Yeah, it's been pushed back, but and thank God.
Yeah.
But let's go to Aaron Turner. Aaron Turner, of course, you and John, no strangers to one another. Collider body slam. John Roca, by the way, is the busiest man at Collider.
Yes.
Collider body slam. He does the weekly Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live recaps. Which, wait, can I tell a story real quick? Yesterday, I'm listening to the SD Live, the SmackDown Live recap. Ryan Satin, John Roca. I'm actually, this is hilarious. I'm listening to it, and I get like a little shout out. And John was like, "Hey, yeah, Brad actually spoiled the King Booker thing for me." And I'm thinking, like, "God damn it, yeah, I did that. That's my bad." And I'm thinking about how, oh crap, I forget about how my West Coast compatriots, they're a little bit behind in this live broadcast game. And so I felt bad about it for a half second. And that half second was just long enough for me to run a red light and get ticketed to the tune of $249. So
Hello.
I do appreciate everything you've done for me, John Roca. I do appreciate it.
Well, I hope you remember the lesson. I do.
Don't spoil
do that
John
again.
Roca.
How dare you?
Or I have to stay off Twitter.
Oh, wait,
That's it.
by
One
the
of
way,
two.
I allegedly ran a red light. I just want to throw that out there. Allegedly.
Right, we'll like
Because
City of Houston
I have-
listen to this
No, you
recording.
I have retained representation. But Aaron Turner, go ahead.
Hi, John. First time caller, long time listener.
Who is this? Who is this? I don't know this person.
Aaron
Who is
Turner.
this person?
Yeah,
is
it's your best friend, the guy you texted like 2 days ago. But let's talk turkey, man. You've got an opportunity to get back in the game here with tag team championships. You've got singles championships to go for. Does it matter? Like, what is more important? Team championships with Dan, a singles championship? Like, what's more important to you? Does it not matter? Because I know you have this moniker of all the belts, all the records, all that stuff. Does it still hold true, or like what is your next goal to accomplish here? Because you've been champion. Are you gunning for more of a respect kind of deal? Like, hey, I'm the longtime gunman here. I'm the gunslinger. Respect me. Like, what is your mission now?
Well, the young guys are coming up, and the young guys coming up, young guys, young ladies, all coming up, talking their smack, doing the stuff that they're doing, trying to get under your head. I am now like the Undertaker. I am now like Hulk Hogan. They have to beat me to achieve success in their minds. Like, it's amazing how obsessed Ben Bateman is with beating me. I had to take care of him for 3 hours afterwards in a bar in Barney's Beanery, so he wouldn't stop crying on my shoulder about his loss.
was there.
I had to take care of him. Numbers knows. He saw that. I bought him a shot. I bought him a drink. I took him home. I cradled him in my arms, and I sang him to sleep. I sang him to sleep.
Thank God we didn't see that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, it's 2018. It's all cool. So look,
Let me ask.
The thing I will say, Aaron, let me ask you a question. Don't just steamroll me here.
Okay.
The thing is, I will say this: the goal, because I'm really, Brad brings up the losing to Snyder, or Numbers brought that up, and to be honest with you, that sticks in my craw. But what sticks in my craw even more is Sam Levine. Sam Levine winning both the belts and having the audacity and the arrogance to think he had nothing left to prove. He beat me by a letter. Len Headley beat me by a letter. And for him to surrender the belts because he thinks he has nothing left to prove is ridiculous. So I want to have both belts around my waist and defend it like a champion, lose it in the ring like a champion. Brad knows wrestling. Aaron, you know wrestling. You got to put the other guy over. That's how it works. And Sam just walked away from the game. He left his hat and his boots in the ring, but he didn't really earn leaving his hat and boots in the ring. So to me, that frustrates me to no end. So I want those two belts back around my waist. That's what drives me. I don't know if I'll do it. But it's what drives me.
Let me ask you this as a follow-up. I was listening to the SmackDown recap as well, and you actually said something. I mean, you say interesting things, of course, but you said something that really stuck with me. And that was, you were talking about the Schmoedown. You said, all these people are talking these days about how fans are like getting in their business and going at them on social media, and it's like become this big issue. So kind of tell me your stance on that, because you had a really strong line I think you were holding to, and it really stuck with me. I want people to hear about what you said there if they didn't catch it.
What do you mean? Can you cue me on that? Like, what did I say?
You were saying like
John Roca talks a lot, is what he's saying.
It's true.
Remember.
It's true. It's like you were kind of saying. I'm paraphrasing, of course. You were saying it was like it's part of the game. Like, it's something you got to deal with. Like, people can say stuff and like you can't let it bother you. So kind of speak to that. Like, what's your mentality on that now?
Yeah, I can tell you. Look, when I walked into the league to create this heel character, the Outlaw, right? I took a lot of shit from so many people online, on the internet, on social media, on the Facebook page, the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Facebook page, on the regular Schmoeville Facebook page. I would get into battles all the time with fans. And then eventually you just keep winning, and eventually they have no choice but to give you your due. Now, when that happens, you understand, you have some perspective here, that fans are going to come at you because fans need, some fans, not all, we have a lot of great fans in the Schmoedown. I want to make that very, very clear. We have a lot of incredible fans in the Schmoedown. What happens is there's a small minority of fans who enjoy poking and prodding the players to get a reaction from them because they think they're ringside yelling at a wrestling match. And they're not actually, because people take it seriously. Someone like Rachel, Clark, Emma, those ladies have been real vocal about the shit that they've taken from fans. But my advice to them, and look, I know that it's a different situation when you're a female competitor. There's a lot of extra comments and unfortunately ugly insults that they get, very sexist insults that they get, misogynist insults that they get, that I didn't have to experience. But I took a lot of shit for a year from the fans, about my heritage, about my weight, about my looks, about my abilities as a host, as a commentator, as a pundit. I took all of that. And after a while, you just realize this is part of the game, and you just shut them out. I have no problem now muting, blocking, totally erasing an account out of my life because I go, nope, I don't need to play into that. I don't need to give them any power over me. Not everyone can do it, and I feel sympathy and I feel also support for the people that can't because it hurts them too deep. But this is the game. This is the game. In any competition, this is the game. Fans are going to yell at you. Fans are going to call. I mean, LeBron has been called the most insane stuff. And yes, I know he makes like $100 million a year. But if you step into a ring, unfortunately, he said there is a minority of fans who will come at you in a way that's offensive or disrespectful. It's up to you to just roll past it, be stronger, and not give them the power over you. Not everyone can do it, like I said.
Well, what do you feel though about the I don't know, the claims that the new champions, that being Bibiani and the Shire Wolves, are illegitimate? Do you find there to be any valid or is there any validity in those claims that they're illegitimate champions because they did not beat Sam Levine?
Well, you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. I think Bibiani is illegitimate because I want my belt back. But I don't think the Shire Wolves are illegitimate. Those ladies are incredibly intelligent about movies and have fought their hearts out to be in the position. And the truth is this: you can only beat the teams that are put in front of you to get to the title. You know what I'm saying? It's not like when the Denver Broncos had to play the Atlanta Falcons that year when Minnesota missed that easy kick to go to the Super Bowl. They can't go, oh, you know what? Our Super Bowl is illegitimate because Minnesota should have kicked that field goal and should have won. No, you play the people in front of you, and Christian lines it up as best he can to make it happen. And so if you beat teams and go all the way to the title and you win that belt, then it's your belt and you've earned it. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone can beat the greatest of all time like I did against Dan, but you know, people do what they can. I'm just joking. People can do what they need.
Your teammate now, John.
That's right.
Don't heel off on the teammate, brother.
Don't pass off the heat, son.
No, but that's the thing that I would say is like if you beat everybody in front of you and the way Christian lines it up and you win the title, then you're legitimate. You know, Bibiani is legitimate in my mind, which is why I want to beat him because he's a legitimate champion. And I've seen him go on these runs recently, and he is just focused in different ways. He's humbled himself before the game, and that's all I ever wanted from Bibbs. We've had our battles in real life about his approach to the game, and those are the things that stick in my craw is when you start to be too cocky, too arrogant about the game, and you don't respect the game, and you make comments about the questions, you snicker under your breath, then to me, I don't want you winning a title. You don't deserve the strap around your waist. Bibiani has changed over the last 6 months. I've seen the change. He understands that he had to humble himself before the game, and it's no surprise that he has won the title. So that's what I would say.
Bibiani recently brought up this point, going back to the titles and legitimacy. He says that if you say that he's illegitimate or that Shiros are illegitimate, then whoever beats them, then there can never be another legitimate champion then with that mindset. And I thought that was a really great point that Bibiani made because you're basically now saying that Sam Levine ruined 2 leagues because there can never be a legitimate championship. So I just think in the end, people just got to get over it, and like it is what it is. And like you said, Christian lines them up, and you play who's in front of you, and I think that's all anyone can do at this point. Yeah. So
that's how it works in fandom.
You play to win the game.
Yeah, you play to win the games. But that's how it is in fandom.
Yeah.
In fandom, fans always think, oh, they have opinions and it should be like this and should be like this. It should be like this. It's like, no, nothing in life is ever like this or like that. It's however it plays out.
Sure.
And if you get to be in a position to win the title, like those ladies in the Shire Wolves were, and like Bibiani was, and you complete the task. Bibiani beat Andraco. Andraco, it was a machine, and he beat him. And there's respect there. And the ladies as well. The Shire Wolves beat everyone in front of them and won the titles legitimately. So it's exciting to have these two champions in these positions because Bibbs isn't going anywhere. The Shire Wolves aren't going anywhere. So you know that if you work hard and you get to a title shot with them, those are the two people that you're going to be facing, or the three people you're going to be facing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You got to take what's in front of you. You got to take it as it comes. Sometimes you're Calvin Klein, sometimes you're Fruit of the Looms. But let's talk about
Nice, Gilmore. Now I'm not paying for your ticket.
Allegedly, I ran that line. Now let's talk about though. You have a big match coming up September the 8th. Let's talk about it live in living color. John Roca and Dangerous Dan Moreau teaming together. How do you feel about teaming with a guy who you once defeated for that championship? How do you feel, you and Dan Moreau?
I'm nothing but honored. Dan Moreau was a great champion when he was a singles champion, and he got the title back again. And he's a great champion. So it's my honor to be his teammate this time around. I hope I can hold up my end of the bargain and win this this first match at this live event. His loss to Andrew really shook him. But he went down, and like I said in that promo, he went down, but when he got back up, he is more motivated than I've seen him. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. A motivated Dan is a scary Dan. And so we met and had coffee over the weekend, and the amount of effort that he is putting into getting ready for this match is astronomical. I've never seen it. They are him and Mara watching movies back to back to back to back to back. They're quizzing each other. They're creating all these kind of tests for each other to make sure they're both on point for their matches. So to me, I find that to be like Sam Levine and Rachel. They quizzed each other for so long, got each other prepped. The scariest thing in the world is Mara and Dan, getting each other ready for matches. That should scare the hell out of everybody in both leagues, in my opinion. So it's my honor to be riding side saddle with Dan, or riding sidecar with Dan, and let him. He's the alpha dog in this situation. I'm happy to be paired up with him, and I hope I hold up my end of the bargain once we get in front of those fans out there. And to be honest with you, Stacey and Winston, those are not those two are going to be very difficult. To me, it is the toughest first round match of the first round, to be honest with you, in my opinion. Stacey can be like Rayman up there and all of a sudden rip through a bunch of questions. Remember, she destroyed Ellis, and Winston has had his good moments in the matches as well. So you don't know what you're going to get in this live event between the four of us. But I look forward to the challenge.
It's a second live event for you. I mean, that's another record, if you will, for you. And I guess that's all I had on that point, actually.
Okay, great.
Well said.
Hey, it's episode 100. I could,
phenomenal journalism.
But I wanted to talk though about you talk about how great Stacey and Winston can be, and I guess you don't want to underestimate, because we just had Dan Moreau on the show right before you came on. He was on, and he talked about going in there against Andrew Guy. He didn't really know what to expect too much, and I think he said it essentially, he got lost in the game because he went in there thinking it was going to be the same exact way that it always is, and now he's got all these new elements. It's a 3-round match. You got Andrew Guy, who's healing on him the entire time, shoots him the double birds at the end of the match. He didn't know what was going on, and now you're going on there, but you're going to be teaming with Dan for the first time, and it's going to be in a live event. Talk to that. Is there any preparation in your head going? First of all, I don't know how you find time to prepare for anything with all the shows you got. Top 10 again. We talk sports time and all that stuff. But I mean, have you thought about how you're going to be able to play with Dan and how you're going to be able to play off of Dan?
Oh yeah, look, my job, as I said, my job is to guide Dan through this live event. That's my job, right? That's the way I'm looking at it. He is like we see this in wrestling all the time, right? I'm guiding the champion through the situation. That's my job. If once this thing goes down, I'm by his side. I'm talking to him, making sure he's cool. I'm keeping him supported, all this jazz. And he's going to do the same for me, because if I falter or I start to miss a couple of questions, I may get in my head. I'm going to look to Dan and be like, look, I'm getting lost in my head. Get me out of it. And Dan, now we've established a stronger connection as we become teammates. he knows what to say to me now to get me out of that place. So I think the way I'm looking at it is that we're two champions. If we don't rattle, we don't let ourselves get too caught up in the moment, we'll be fine. And whatever's going to happen is going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what's the positive thing about the both of us is that we're riding into the situation, relying on each other to carry the other one through the match. If one or the both of us falter, we're there for each other, and that's important. For me, that's how I approach it.
You talk about wrestling, though, and we got to get you off here in just a second. But you talk about wrestling. One of the things that have become, Steve Austin, right? One of the greatest of all time. He started this chant called the What chant, and it's now surpassed him. People don't even refer to it as the Steve Austin chant anymore. People love to say what, and a lot of times they say that it's killing promos out there. Some people, they can't get over the What chant. And, it's funny, a couple times when you see it every single week, it gets a little annoying. And I bring this up to ask you, in this Friday match, the prelim to your main event match, there was yet again another reference to Senora Jane Fonda. And I just want to know, how sick of the Jane Fonda jokes are you?
Oh, listen, when someone makes a Jane Fonda joke, they're trying to be cool. And that's how sad they are. They have to make that joke to try to be cool. And so to me, it makes me feel nothing but pity for that person because I go, oh, really? You're going to have to glom on a two-time champion just to have anything to say? Just to feel like you're cool or anything? Why don't you try doing something in the ring to be really cool? Why don't you try doing something and winning a title twice to be really cool? Until then, you're just a kid or a newbie in the game who's trying to make your bones off something I already did. See, if you take my leftovers and think you're eating a full meal, you're an idiot. So to me, that's the way I look at it. Like, they make all their jokes, but all they're doing is because it's born out of jealousy. They're always trying to undercut you because it's born out of jealousy. They wish they were the Outlaw. They wish they were a singles champion at one point. They wish they were a tag team champion at one point. No, what they are is still down in the mid card trying to climb up and ride my coattails to fame and fortune. Look, I have an Outlaw Nation podcast. I am the Outlaw. I am now on the second live event. Do you catch any of those Jane Fonda joke making motherfuckers at a live event? No. You know why? Because they haven't earned it. So they can make all their jokes, but I'm still riding high.
I don't know, but I love
what is going on right now?
Keep going. God damn, don't interrupt him, Aaron.
I'm telling you.
Sorry.
I won't be beat.
Well, let me ask.
I do like though real quick. I do like how he lowered his voice during the swear because he's still in a public place. But continue.
Yeah.
He was like, "I'm gonna tell you these mother."
Let me ask the Outlaw one question. Not John Roca. Let me ask the Outlaw this.
Yeah.
Dan Moreau, you guys were big rivals. Now you're partners.
Yeah.
I don't mean to create controversy, but can you trust him?
What do you mean? Can I trust him? What does that mean?
He's
in
your
what
partner.
way?
It's Anarchy. Do you think this could be? Is there any point in your mind where this is some long game ploy where Dan Moreau is going to sabotage you for taking his belt way back when? Does that ever cross your mind?
No, not even for a little bit. Are you crazy? Dan Moreau respects the game just like Dan Moreau respects the game just like I respect the game. And so I have no concerns that he's going to, throw the game on purpose or put me in a situation where he leaves me hanging. I have nothing but confidence in Dan Moreau. And I know that because both of us have been to the mountaintop. Both of us have been there. We created the league. That's why they call us Team Founding Fathers, because we are the founding fathers of the league.
That is cool.
I'll take.
Yep. I'm just letting you know.
All right.
There
we
the
go.
Founding fathers of the league. We made
Hashtag.
what it is nowadays.
Absolutely. And as Beyonce sings about her halo in the background, John Roca will have his cowboy hat and blindfold on probably at the live event, so you can catch John Roca then. The Outlaw, any plugs before we get you out of here, Outlaw?
If you want to follow me on the Roca Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Collider Sports Time every Monday. We just shot our Fantasy Football League draft for Collider, so just go and do that. Just go to the Collider Sports YouTube channel or Collider Sports Factory feed, podcast feed rather, and you can listen and watch all of that. And of course, Top 10, Outlaw Nation, and of course the Cinephiles on iTunes as well. So just follow and listen to everything I'm doing. Brad's right. I talk a lot. I got a lot to say. I obviously have to spread it over all these shows. And at night, I'm studying movie trivia. I got time, and I got a girlfriend. Like, my life is busy, but I find time for everything because I enjoy my world.
That's right. That is the Outlaw John Roca here on Rundown number 100, numero 100 in Spanish. We appreciate you, Outlaw.
I appreciate all of you. Thanks so much. Listen, honestly, from me to all of you guys and everyone who is listening to you guys and all the fans of the Schmoedown, we can't do what we do without you all. So thank you so much for this show. Thank you so much for being fans of the Schmoedown. Like, it means so much to all of us. So I want to thank you guys for letting me come on this 100th episode. It's been my honor.
Oh,
Thank you so
John.
much,
We
John.
appreciate it. We appreciate it. Well, go take the lady out to, or let the lady go out to dinner tomorrow so you can watch All In, and I'm sure we'll be texting throughout. So take care, John.
All right, take care, boys. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
You
And
know,
the halo continues.
I was going to ask John. I was like, hey, I asked Dan this. He couldn't say. But what's your team name? I think he just blurted it out without even being.
Somewhere Christian is not is thrilled.
Yeah, he's like, oh God.
Says
Why they do this thing live? Damn it!
There's a text right now in Roca's inbox that just says, "Damn it!"
Yeah.
But you got to love John Roca. John Roca, once again, was one of the guys who brought me into the Schmoedown, made me a fan. It really did. I mean, when I saw the Movie Trivia Schmoedown and I saw John Roca, I'm like, okay, I get it. It's a wrestling themed show. And here's the guy who understands the wrestling aspect of it. It's what got me hooked on it. And we're going to have 2 other people hopefully join us here momentarily who know about the wrestling angle of things. And I think they're going to have something to say about both of our guests whom we've had on tonight because they both have history with these people. But let's continue to talk about that match with John Roca and Ben Bateman because it was such an expert. I really think this was a comeback win for John Roca and a needed win for John Roca to continue to not only hold his place, because when he said, okay, I'm like the Hulk Hogan, I'm like the Undertaker, a lot of times, when the older guys, and I'm not saying he's old, I know that's the joke that everyone likes to play on Roca, but I'm saying he said he's a founding father. Sometimes when the older guys start putting the newer guys over, if you will, they kind of get shoved to the side, and next thing you know, they're on the opening match of the opening card, on WrestleMania or what have you.
If they lose, does their team name switch to Father Time? Is that how it's gonna work?
Oh, Janish.
If they lose, I'm just saying if they lose.
Ouch,
lose.
Janish. Don't
you would think.
You know what, Aaron? I actually have a question for you while we await our next guest.
Okay.
And you said 62 episodes you did?
Yeah, sure.
How the hell did you have Frank Janisch, talk in your ear for 6? Oh, wait, hold on now. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. We've been invaded.
Of course.
We have just been invaded by the 2 best-looking sons of bitches in the league. They are Team Action.
Brad Gilmore, we want you. We want you on Team Action, man. We need you.
You're going to have them.
I will take it. I will take that invite. How y'all feeling, boys? How y'all feeling?
Well, I could be better, but we're excited about life right now. And Janish, if you say one goddamn word about my stats today, I'm shutting the computer. We're jumping.
Oh, the one time you don't want to know about your stats. He's always asking me like, oh yeah, like 7 in a row, this one 7 times. But I understand.
Okay.
We'll talk about it though, Ben. We just had John Roca on. John Roca said that you're obsessed with him. I told him that he's an idiot and that it comes from upbringing.
Way around, man. You know what my girl told me yesterday? She told me that John's been walking around Collider telling people that I've got a bubble butt. So he's been obsessed with me. That's what I heard. I heard John's been talking about my rear end. All right.
He's got the same look on his face that I do.
Exactly. What is he doing? That's what I heard. Okay. He said to my girl, "Hey, I've been looking at your guy's butt. So he wants to talk about." And you call him on that. Because I guarantee he'll be more embarrassed than me.
Could I add something? I was actually talking to Roca the other day, and he noted that Andrew Guy is the most in shape guy in the Schmoedown. He really said that. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but that was a private conversation. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know, because we were talking about the spear when Andrew speared him.
Truth.
And I was just like, okay, man.
The truth is that the greatest thing that's ever happened to John Roca in the Schmoedown is Team Action.
Okay.
We have made him so unbelievably relevant without him even having to do anything. And that's honestly, good for him.
Good for him.
That's he's in a great position right now. He's just chilling. The 5 Horsemen come back. He doesn't even have to play. Merle loses. He doesn't have to lose. And his team's still talked about. He's in a good place because of us.
Yeah. It's pretty killer.
It's crazy. He could almost be in a better place if we were also helping him sell tickets to this live event because he can't do that. And we can. Crazy how that works.
Ooh, truth hurts.
What are we doing again?
How do y'all feel though? How do y'all feel about this Anarchy tournament? Now, John Roca and Dan Moreau are a team that's supposed to be a random tournament. They're a team, of course. But how do you feel about this Anarchy tournament?
I mean, I wish Drew was in the tournament. I'm not totally ruling out the possibility that if I get to the finals with Riley and Drew shows up, I'm just going to tell Riley to get lost and team action.
Yes, that would be so sick.
But on the whole, I mean, I believe I have the best team in the entire tournament. I think we got two A1 and AB number one stunners on the team. And I think should I just start singing I'm the number one stunner maybe?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, you can just go. I'll do
You guys
that.
going to have separate entrance musics? Is that what's going to happen here?
We'll do
Riley's
that.
going to come out.
I mean, I'm just going to comment because I can and I don't get to play. Ben and Riley seem to just, like, from what I've known from watching Wolves of Steel and watching Mark Riley win and lose belts for years now, it's like they have like a very, very good balance of knowledge between the two of them. And what Ben really excels in, I think, is much different than what Riley really excels in, and vice versa.
I mean, Riley's got, if you think about historically what Riley's been really good in, Riley is tremendously good in horror. He's great in 80s. He's good in scores and soundtracks. He's fantastic in animated. Like, these are all places that we've seen Riley shine. Those are some of my weakest categories.
Yeah.
You bet, even comic book movies where he goes really deep. Like, I balance out the other side of the coin very well with the things that I have been dominant in, things like movie release dates, things like Oscars, that it feels pretty hard to imagine us losing to Zipper and Fouch. That's her name?
Haley Fouch.
Yeah, Haley Fouch, yeah.
Yeah, and also Zipper and Fouch are so new to the league. They're playing against two of the most seasoned veterans that have ever played the game. And honestly, I like that. I think that that's what bracketology is all about. You watch sports. There's a reason the number 1 and the 8 seed play each other in round 1. The number 1's been there time and time again. They've proven that they're seasoned vets. And Ben and Riley going into the ring against Fouch and Zipper, just you almost feel bad for them because I know that Haley and Zip are very nice, pretty passive competitors. Whereas we know this guy and we know Riley too. When Riley's feeling himself, he'll get in your face. So I'm excited to watch the rookies square off against people that they would probably never even play ever in their careers in Schmoedown. It's not often that you get to play against these top tier teams unless you really put in the work for. I mean, we didn't play DC Movie News until a year after they first wanted to play us because, again, they just kind of weren't in the same tier that Action was last year. So it doesn't even, yeah. So I just think it's going to be crazy.
It's something we just said on this. There's a podcast out there called Call to Action. It was started by the Action Army, longtime supporters, and they do a show every week. And we were just on with them talking to them. And one thing we mentioned was that today is the 1-year anniversary from the day that the Action Army Facebook page was started by our fans, which is the most active, dominant Facebook page for any of the groups. The only one that has more people is Outlaw Nation, but that's just John just doing
it's
this.
Him and his entire AARP club are in there. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's literally. So, but I mean, it's been a year, and if you think about when we first started in April, we were these young, cocky upstarts. People were like, Ben's the weak link, Drew's the strong one. Actually, people are saying that now. But people used to talk smack and say that we were just these cocky guys who had nothing to offer. And here we are now getting head-to-head matches against basically Mount Rushmore guys. I've got my teammate currently is a 2-time champion. Drew's on a crazy high right now going up against that same champion. I mean, it's just things have changed. I feel what we brought to the league in terms of theatrics and personality and truly committing to the heel act while also performing at a high level is different than the league had seen. So it's exciting to look back now a year and 4 or 5 months ago and feel like here we are. We're vets. We're grizzled veterans.
Yeah, it's weird. When we were at Collider recently talking to some of the newer players, some of the fans that were there, and also some of the seasoned vets. Really, when we came into the league, the whole heel idea had only been taken as far as kind of John Roca and Bibbs kind of having a bit of an aggressive personality a little bit on stage and their get-ups and their masks and their character names. But when Christian injected us into the league specifically, and when he told us when we joined after our first match, it was I want this to be the new minimum. for heels. Like, this is where you start at a baseline for a heel. We need to kick this up to the next notch. We need to make the theatrics of this league really carry the weight and not the trivia anymore. It needs to be about the characters, the storylines, and the heels and the faces. And the trivia is just that beautiful part in between that we all know is just pure. And so it's kind of an honor to see, after a year and a half of us playing together and seeing, this Call to Action podcast and seeing the Action Army page hit a year, and like us being invited on your 100th episode. It's really great to see the payoff of all the work that we put in as fans and as competitors, because we love this league. We always have. We have a tendency to do this run on thing, so we'll throw it back to you guys here so you can continue. But you brought up something though that I did want to talk to you about, because we had Dan Moreau on at the beginning of the show, and he did say, like, during his hiatus, he did not realize how much the game had changed, especially when it comes to the characters. He said, characters, they were what they were when I was champion, but when it came time for the actual game, you kind of dropped all that and you just played the game. He said, Drew, that your theatrics throughout the game, through y'all's match, is what threw him off so much. He wasn't expecting that. Speak to that. Did you feel that when you were there in the match? Did you feel like, does he know that this is does he know that I'm a heel here, or, It's interesting, and that's exactly what I'm kind of talking about with like Ben and Riley going against Fouch and Zipper. It's like some people, just even if they know the game has changed, they've never experienced it. So even if Dan did know that it had changed, even though clearly he did not, I still wonder if it still would have affected him, because he'd never actually been in the ring with someone and had to tune them out like McQueenie does, like a master. So I did know that Dan wasn't expecting it. We had to film a segment beforehand. I think it was the one where I like almost hit him with the cane. That one. Yeah. It was that. We filmed right before the match, and him and I were like walking and talking like just as buddies. The camera crew was ahead of us, and it was like, I was like, hey man, here we go. And he's like, yeah. He's like, a lot of things have changed. I was like, yeah, you're in my world now. He like kind of laughed, and I was like, it used to be your world, man. Now it's about little shits like me. And he kind of laughed too. He didn't really realize, because also when I'm at the studio, I don't get into character until I have to, because it's like no one would like me if I was in character all the time, Right. So like, clearly Dan again didn't really know what to expect. As soon as the match started and the music turns on, it's like, I'm not your friend. I've said this time and time again, I am the worst person to lose to in this league. I would hate to lose to me. I'm fucking annoying, and it's clear to show that like I have my weaknesses, and I never shut up. And like, it's one of those things that during the match you could really see Dan. It was wearing on him a lot. How do you feel though about Dan Moreau and John Roca's chances in the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament? I mean, you talk about Ben Bateman. You got there with Riley, another one of the 5 Horsemen members. How do you feel about Roca and Moreau? I mean, you want my honest opinion? And I'm not even from the perspective of like smack talk. I'm gonna kill him. I really hope I get to stomp John Roca into dust and embarrass him in front of everyone, because it's going to be my last chance, based on what happened in today's match, to play Roca for a while. I won't get to play against Roca in any capacity other than this chance till well into next season. I don't think I'll have a singles match probably before the end of the year. Maybe, but it certainly wouldn't be anywhere near that level. So that's what I hope happens. Now, what I think will happen, I don't like. Roca has been exposed to just be so mortal, like it's what's happened. Yeah. Merle, I mean, once, but Roca, like time and time again. I mean, he scored 3 out of 8 in round 1 against him. This is a guy who's supposed to be on Mount Rushmore. If not for the fact that I was given a context question about a kid's movie and he was asked who's on the cover of the box, we're talking a different conversation right now. Like, he's not menacing as a player anymore. He's good, but talk about any of the other teams. Bibiani and Nost, I feel, could beat them. I feel there's 6 different teams that could beat them. So I think their chances to lose to Riley and I are decent. That's their best shot. They're not getting past us. And I also think that the things that John and Merle know are probably pretty similar. That Venn diagram probably overlaps a lot more than yours and Riley's, or maybe like, Drew, McQueenie, and Brienne, or things like that. Right. It's just the overlapping knowledge. I guarantee you, if they spin opponent's choice and get hit with romantic movies or romance or rom-coms, that's a tough spot for both Dan and John. You know. Yeah.
Aaron Turner.
Let me ask this, Ben. Like I just asked Roca this. You have a guy in Mark Riley that is in I guess you could say the Horsemen are a rival faction to you guys. And Drew's playing Riley coming up. So is there a scenario where you're looking as a guy that you don't know that well as a teammate? He's not technically like a teammate of yours. He's sort of a rival. Do you ever look at that and you're like, I don't know if I can trust this guy. I don't know what's going on here. Do you see, like, if he somehow were to beat Andrew, do you like kind of say, man, screw this guy and just leave him in the dust because you want to be teammates? You want to be team champions with your boy. Like,
here's how I like that question, Aaron. It's a great question. You better leave him.
Up at the top of the mountain is Christian Harloff, right? He makes all the decisions. He's the puppet master. He knows how he wants this thing to go. Now, the difference between Schmoedown and wrestling is obviously this is not preordained. We get to play live matches, and that's how the storylines work. So as much as Christian wants things, but he'll suggest everything from team names to entrance music, right? He has a very specific idea of what he wants. We could show you the text threads of us trying to recruit Riley to team action. We've petitioned hard. He's one of our absolute favorite people. We love Riley. So I would be way more inclined to think that Riley doesn't trust me than me not trusting Riley.
Sure.
But I am telling you guys, like one time early on, I think Evan DeGraff or somebody, I remember watching a reaction to like our second match or something. And one of the intros, he was like, Ben and Andrew, team action, bad boys, ride together, die together, bad boys for life. And I was like, that's how it is. I was like, there's no question. I was like, end of the day, we're going to win a belt. And if it means betraying someone to force a title shot for team action, you'll have to walk over my cold, dead body if you want to stop me. Because, like, we are going to win a belt. And that's what's going to happen.
It will.
I'm a man of honor. But when it comes to team action, it supersedes honor. So
everything is on the table and off the table.
Love it. I like it.
Well, there are new team champions, the Shire Wolves, who we've talked about quite a bit over the last 2 weeks. A lot of people have been saying they're illegitimate champions, but we've litigated that case to death. My microphone seems to have died. But my question is...
Shire Wolves, your microphone doesn't give a shit. He doesn't want to about him.
Wow.
All right, so Ben, just take me through some of your thoughts like this match against Roca. Is there questions that you wish you had back, or is there situations you wish you would have played differently? What are your overall thoughts on how you played Roca, and maybe did you learn something, or do you think Roca skated by on this one?
Well, I'll tell you what. The first thing I'm going to do is plug patreon.com/teamaction, because I do it for this reason. There are certain things that we want to be totally public about, and there are certain behind-the-scenes details we like to share with just the loyal supporters, because there are things that happen behind the scenes and thoughts we have that we've done this before. And so if you guys want to know the exact behind the scenes, because there's some controversy with this match, I'm not going to drop it here, but I will talk about it on our show.
Oh, you will?
100%.
You're going to?
Yep. I know.
This is interesting. This is news to me too, and I think
I was there for this match, and so I'm not gonna spoil it. But
you think you know?
I understand. A little bit, yes.
Yeah. So I'll get there on my own thing. But as far as the match itself, the above board stuff. Look, I said it in the post game. If you score 4 points in round one, you deserve to lose the match. So I deserved to lose that match. Now he scored 3, so it's hard for me to not feel like he deserved to lose. I got Oscars, which I seem to keep spinning and winning with. But like, it was one of those things where it was a relatively even match. I feel his 5 was easier than mine. It's frustrating. It's similar to the Jodie Foster, the accused question we got at the live event. These things happen. It can't be balanced. I know why the question file is that way. I know how hard it is for that to be balanced. It was just one of those things. It went down to the 5. I really wish I had had a better round 1. Yeah. Even in round 2, I don't recall there being. I made no mistakes. That's the point. When I played Draco, I could have beaten Draco if I had played a better game. I made no mistakes in this.
There was an actual gameplay error. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing is it really sucks when you make gameplay error. It's really hard to like swallow the fact you're like, if I would have just said like the words multiple choice, I would have a win instead of a loss. So that's why I like trying to pinpoint exactly something in a match like this, like where you're saying it's just like you both performed. Honestly, you performed the most out of character in round one. I don't think I've seen you score 4 points in round one in any match that we've sat and played through together or watched since
long time.
Like the
It's
first.
been a real long time. Yes.
Yeah, it's just crazy to hear it because like when he called me and told me, I was shocked to hear that he and Roca had scored 7 points combined in round one.
Yeah, I think the ones that I can look back on are Apes Strong Together versus Apes Together Strong, which I think was question 5 in round one.
Yeah.
Right. That's a tough one.
That's one I wish I had back, and I think I could have burned a JTE there because it's like it doesn't sound right. So I could have maybe pieced that one together. It's possible. I did burn a JTE on my 2-pointer with Christian Slater, and I was able to get there with it, which was legitimate. So I felt the match on the whole was like I played to the ability of what I knew, but that 5-pointer is what it all came down to.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, guys. Like, this is something I figured out the other day. Okay, so in a singles match, right, you answer 8 in round 1, 4 in round 2, and 3 in round 3, right? So you're looking at 15 questions with the total points you can score, provided you're not getting the perfect round 1 or whatever, at 26 points, right? Which means that the value of each question is somewhere between 1.5 and 2 points on average. Now, if you assume that if you burn a JTE rule at some point in the match to get a chance to answer a question, effectively buy yourself time, and it works 50% of the time, that means that the value of a JTE rule in the Schmoedown is just less than a point. It's somewhere less than a point. So if you think you can buy yourself points by burning, like I left one on the table, I'm pretty sure, doesn't matter if you miss the 5. That's the bottom line. All that theory goes out the window if you get a harder 5 than their 5. That's what's so frustrating about this, is that like, for me to know that answer, I would have had to have watched Ninja Turtles at some point recently. I've never seen My Own Private Idaho, but I know who's in it because they're on the cover of the box. So if I talk about the movie and I know it exists, then I know who's in it. That's why that's the most frustrating thing for me.
And it's frustrating for me too, as obviously his teammate and a fan of the show and a fan of him, is that like this issue is supposed to be dealt with. That was the reason that we had this massive controversy after our event and after the championship with Sam or whatever. There was like 3 matches in a row where shit kind of happened. Mm-hmm. So we went through and we figured out a way to do with vetting and take care of these questions beforehand to make sure that every single person, a team of people, decide that these questions are exactly even. And obviously, it's just one of those things that it's a great thing to talk about. It's hard to completely implement in the world that we live in. Money and time are 2 very, very valid factors. So I think that is kind of a misstep. And on the SD side and the production side, I think those questions should have been vetted a little better, and I think they should have been a little more even, because that's something that we have all as competitors agreed on, that if you can answer a question by looking at the box of a movie and you can't answer a question because you haven't seen a movie, those should not both be in the same category. They just shouldn't. So that's my 2 cents.
I had a question, though, about the 5-pointer, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle question. So did you watch the match back, Ben? Did you watch it?
I have, yes.
He's not like me. I don't watch matches when I lose.
So my question was this, though. So the question that was written on the screen was phrased differently than how it was asked in the room. And I don't know if you picked up on this at all, but no. it was read, in the 1990s, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? It was read as in the 1990s instead of in 1990s. You see what I'm saying? They didn't put the possessive on the year's film. I didn't know if that had anything to do with it in the room, because then I started thinking when they said that, I was like, okay, did she have the same apartment in every movie? And I'm starting to think of it like that. Did that ever play into anything there?
No, that's just one of those ones where, look, my guess was a pizza parlor. It's the most obvious guess. It's what you go with if you don't know the answer. It could have been right. It wasn't.
Was it again a liquor store?
Antique store. There's nothing about the Ninja Turtles or April O'Neil that's a peripheral guess you'll know unless you know the movie. You don't get to know that because, like, when we got the Paul Walker, Ted Levine question about Fast and the Furious, if you're going to guess, even if you don't know that, there's a chance you'll guess the Fast and the Furious because it's right. So, like, I always tell this to people. The Schmoedown is fun if you can know answers to questions peripherally over 75% of the time, right? If you're smart, you can know things about movies you haven't seen in a while. That is what makes it interesting. If it's not the case, how do you think people that aren't us and know what we know feel when they watch the show? Make them feel like idiots. They don't know anything. You have to construct the questions other than the fives, which can be hard. They just have to be balanced in a certain way. And that question I just didn't know, and I wouldn't get it.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, Drew.
I was just saying it's happened more and more in the first round where like you hear the studio audience kind of lose their shit, like, come on, to a question. But then you'll also see a lot of times at least one competitor misses one of those questions, and like that's part of the game. It's part of the game, like free throws, basketball. Talk to me about the easiest shot in the whole fucking game. Some people shoot 50%.
Right.
Sure.
Right. They'll just, it's just one of those things. Now, we had Dan Moreau on. Dan Moreau said he has no interest in ever playing Andrew Guy again. How do you feel about that, hearing that?
You know what? That makes me so happy. I wouldn't want to play me again either, dude. I destroyed you.
Tremendous.
Yeah, I think Dan said let you have that accomplishment, and it looks like you're going to hold on to that. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I totally get it. I wouldn't want to play me again either. Also, if he were to lose to me again, it would destroy his legacy in the Schmoedown, whereas right now he can hold on to it, and I think that's better for everyone, honestly. Dan is
Do you agree, though? Do you agree with the fact he said that playing you was a lose-lose scenario? Do you agree with that?
Kind of. The only reason it wasn't a lose-lose scenario is because he's the one that wanted to do it. Like, don't put yourself in that position. I would never put myself in a position of just like, I have nothing to gain from this. That's why we didn't play DC Movie News last year. That's why there's certain teams and players we won't play. There's an actual fight. It's like having a manager. There's a reason why you don't put your star fighter, #1 heavyweight in the world, against Joe Schmo nobody from fucking Brooklyn that actually is a pretty good fighter. You get knocked out by that kid and you're done. So like, I think for him it wasn't the best situation to be in, but also he would have never had a great comeback like he did at the live event. That was like maybe the coolest moment in Schmoedown history, and it's all revolved around just him. So I don't really think it was lose-lose for him. I think that he lost a Schmoedown match in a situation where he didn't want to, but he still got incredible press from it. I guarantee you his Twitter went up and blew up, and like people cared about him again, and that match had insane amounts of views. So
and also, I mean, again, guys, we mentioned it, and I certainly don't mean to sit here plugging the Patreon endlessly, but that's the best. That's our best behind the scenes interview we ever did.
Yeah, that was a really cool interview.
Because I wasn't here for that. I was in Vegas, and I was at a thing, and I got a text from Dill the dude. It was like, your boy just TKO'd Merle. And I was like, there's just no way that's true. No way. And over the course of the next 30 minutes, as I like frantically called Drew and was like, I need to beat Mance so badly. If I lose to Mance, I need to lose. As that unfolded, I like found out, I was like, wow, this is a real thing. This really happened. It just was one of those things, like, you're all sports fans. I mean, so are we. You remember the moments, the craziest, the Russell Wilson plays the worst game of his career in the NFC Championship game, and he throws a bomb to Jermaine Kearse and sends us to the Super Bowl moments where you can't believe it happened. It never should have happened. Everybody wants to talk smack about Russell Wilson, but guess who played in the Super Bowl that year? Russell fucking Wilson. So you can't believe that Merle played that badly, but it accounted for the greatest moment in the history of the Schmoedown, the greatest upset in the history of the Schmoedown. So
yeah, and honestly, that live event, maybe the greatest promo and definitely the greatest reveal of a team. Like, there's all these wonderful things that came about it. I get it. Dan's a competitor, and he's one of the best ever. None of us like to lose. So I feel for the dude, for sure.
All right. Well, that is team action. Ben Bateman and Drew Guy. We expect, to see belts around their waists and not just the ones that hold up their pants. Championships we're referring to by the end of the year.
How does it feel to actually know that Ben and Andrew getting a singles belt from Team Action is like a real thing? Like, that's a real thing. Because we were like a joke team for a really long time. Like, maybe these guys will squeak their way to a team belt. But now the fact that, like, any belt could be ours, other than Star Wars and Inner Geekdom, by the end of 2019. It's not unfathomable anymore. I love it.
Sounds good.
It can happen.
Sounds good to me.
It can happen. I would love it. Andrew Guy and Ben Bateman as champions is what's best for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Damn it. And I believe it. I believe it.
Finds ourselves in that position. Any of those things, we want to invite you, Brad Gilmore, to be there. To be there.
Yes.
Guy, we want you to be our hype man. Yep. That's how much we like you. No shade to you guys. We like you both. But I mean, This guy.
I'll be
they're
there
idiots.
regardless. I don't
It
need
doesn't
an
matter.
invite. I just show up. So,
I like it. I will be there. Whenever there's a championship match, I will be there.
Did you buy your plane ticket, Frankie J? You're supposed to be moving to LA. We made an agreement. We shook hands. You said if I beat Dan Moreau, you would.
it's true. I did say that, and that is something that will happen.
My end of the bar.
It will happen. I just can't say when yet, but it will happen. I do promise that.
Okay.
All right. Well, Team Action, thank you all so much for joining us on Rundown 100. This
Thank
is
you, guys.
Team Action
Thanks,
on the
fellas.
show.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. We love watching the show. We're honored to be on, and best luck to the next 100.
And thanks, Chris Clark, because we haven't said your name.
Oh, dude, Chris, yeah.
Quietly.
Thanks, guys. Keep rocking. You guys are awesome.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Well, guys, as we move on, we are going to see a special video that Chris Clark has put together of past Schmoedown guests. So, Chris, I do you want to intro it, or you just want to go ahead and play this thing?
These are basically the past guests that we've had all throughout the Schmoedown. I've gotten a handful of people. There are some people that you've seen many times this year. There's going to be a lot of everybody has a lot of pride being on this show, and it's just a treat. And they were honored to do it. And let's rock this sucker.
We have not seen this, so Frank, Aaron, brace yourselves. Let's roll the tape.
Schmoedown Rundown, 100 episodes, dude. I mean, I heard that. I heard it was the 100th episode, and I just thought, wow, man, like, dude, I cannot believe they let you do that many. Like, why? Who is letting you do this still? I can't believe it. I don't know who watches that. I don't know. I don't know it. But, I mean, 100 episodes, that must mean people like it. So congrats to you. Honestly, I was on the Rundown, okay? That was probably one of the greatest moments to me, aside from actually being on the Schmoedown, was being on the Rundown. So I was on it, and that's awesome. 100 episodes, dude. I mean, listen, yeah, like I lost to the Rundown in the I lost to the Rundown in the 2017 Schmoedown Awards. I'm probably going to lose to him again this year, if I'm even nominated. But it's like, who can even beat the Schmoedown Rundown at the Schmoedown Awards? It's ridiculous, dude. It's rigged. I mean, you dudes get all the best scoops. You get all the best guests. I mean, hell, the Schmoedown Rundown is basically like the Tonight Show of the Schmoedown. I mean, what does that make me? You know, Carson Daly? No one even knows who that is anymore. And I'm very sad about it. I mean, I'll tell you one thing, dude. When Dude Talk reaches 100 episodes, no one's going to be making me a tribute video. So, I mean, enjoy it while you got it, dudes. I mean, you're at the top, all right? So enjoy the top. Enjoy you peaking, okay? Because I'm coming for you, dudes. I'm nipping at your heels. So you best watch out, because the dude's coming for the Rundown. I'm not. It's not going to happen. You guys are probably going to remain the best until either one of you dies or you just stop doing it. Which, don't stop doing it. Everybody enjoys the Rundown. So congratulations, 100 episodes, dude. Why don't you have me on more is my question. I would love to know that. I would love to know why I'm not on the Rundown more. You only had me on once, and that was just because I was in the ring. I mean, I got opinions. I got a voice. I mean, have me on. I could be a good little, like counterpoint dude with, I got opinions, Frank. Why don't you ever have me on the Rundown, Frank? I thought we was friends.
Hey, Rundown. Happy 100. Very excited. So excited I have hearts, you know, because why wouldn't you have hearts if you can have hearts, right? Anyways, happy 100. I think, though, that 104 is probably more like the important celebration because, you know, that's 52 weeks in a year. So 52 plus 52 is 104. That makes 2 years. I'm doing some really good math right now. It's because I'm a former teacher. Anyways, so whatever, we can celebrate 100. I guess it's, you know, triple digits. And so we like that going from 2 to 3. We all want more. And that's just, anyways. So like with everything, I like to express myself in song, as you know, and especially songs from a Goofy movie. So I got one for you, just for the Rundown. If we listen to the Rundown, we'll find tips that will make us spellbound. And maybe it's the reason why, for the first time ever, we're seeing it eye to eye. Yeah, we're seeing it eye to eye. All right. Love you guys. Bye.
This is the Schmoedown Rundown's 100th episode, you guys. That's crazy. That's so exciting. The Rundown has come so far and has been so involved with so much of the Schmoedown. It has been a huge part of me being involved with the show, not only because it gives so much great information and is just a great place for fans to rally together and have these kind of discussions about our favorite players and the matches and everything, but getting to be on the Rundown is still something that I cannot believe happened for me. And to be able to submit something to say congratulations to the Rundown for the 100th episode is so, so exciting. You guys seriously do such a fantastic job, and here's to 100 more episodes of the Rundown because we absolutely need it. The Schmoedown Rundown is the best. Hashtag Rundown boys. Congratulations on the 100th episode. You guys do such a fantastic job, and this is such a great way for Schmoedown fans in the community to come together to discuss their favorite matches and their favorite players and get amazing statistics and hear different viewpoints about these matches and about these players. And being a part of the Rundown family by getting to be on a couple of episodes has really meant a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to the other people who've been able to be a part of this. So thank you guys so much for all of the work you put into the Rundown, and here's to 100 more episodes.
Hey guys, KO here. Just wanted to give you guys a shout out and congratulations on your 100th episode. Gosh, you guys have been fantastic. Without guys like you out there doing these awesome rundowns and everything, we'd just be a bunch of guys doing trivia online. So you guys have been fantastic. It's been so fantastic meeting you guys, just interacting online and then getting to meet you guys, whether you're coming to see the show at the studio or at the live events or whatnot. So again, congratulations to you guys. Thanks for being so supportive of everything that's been happening so far lately. With me personally, I don't want to tell you too much more about what's going to happen. We got a lot more in store. If you thought it was just with Inner Geekdom, I got some surprises for you. But again, guys, it's about you guys, and congratulations. Again, 100th episode. Hopefully, here's to 100 more, and I'll be talking to you again at your 200th episode. Take care, guys.
Hey, Rundown boys. 100 episodes. How did we get here? I have literally no idea, but congratulations are certainly in order, and so is a really big thank you. Thank you from me personally, because you have been in my corner since day one, and playing in the league has its ups and downs, and it's not always been easy for me to come out from behind that curtain, but you guys have been in my corner, and it makes a world of difference to know that fans and reactors and analyzers and podcasters and just people in general out there in the online sphere appreciate what I bring to the table, and appreciate what everybody brings to the table for the Schmoedown. That's the beauty of it. There's so many different kinds of characters and players and competitors and leagues and teams, and it's not just a show anymore, it's a universe, and you are a huge part of that universe. You're part of the family. So thank you to Frank. Your stats have actually made me a believer that I'm a pretty good player in the league. Brad, your analysis is unbelievable. It takes the game to a whole new level, and I know I'm a better player for pushing myself to learn the game as well as you know it. And Chris Clark, your unadulterated passion is infectious. I know that I can't really count on you rooting for me if I play Bibbs, Robert, or Whitney, but the fact that you're in my corner most of the other time means a lot. So to you three, to all the previous hosts, and everybody who helps make this show what it is, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of the league's heart. And so I guess it's on to 200 if we make it that far.
It's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Hey everybody, William Bibiani here, the champ, singles champ. Just wanted to give a shout out to everyone here at the Schmoedown Rundown. It's a podcast to listen to every single week. And I'm really, really glad, because when I first started playing at the Schmoedown, it seemed like just a trivia game. It was listening to this show that helped me realize just how much of a sport it really is. This show provides analysis, enthusiasm, wonderful speculation. And through that passion, I think we can all experience everything that the Movie Trivia Schmoedown has to offer. because it's not just a game. It's a sport. It's a sport. It's a show. And listening to this program is a valuable resource, whether you're just a fan of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, or if, in my case, you're a player. I have adopted strategies that I've heard on this show. I have listened to what other competitors have said on this show and taken notes, and in some cases, defeated them because of it. It's a real delight for me to get to share my passion for something with other people. As someone who loves movies and art, oftentimes my love of something is in a state of certain solitude. You know, I absorb something, I appreciate it, and I go on with my day. Being able to celebrate a competition like this with people like Brad and Frank and Chris, it just brightens my day. It makes me feel like I'm part of a community. It makes me feel alive. The Schmoedown is a really important part of my life, and the Schmoedown Rundown is an important part of it too. And all of these episodes you have put together have made that experience better in every way. You know, we play the game, we put on the show, but I think it is your contribution that helps make the Movie Trivia Schmoedown a sport, a proper sport that can be treated seriously, that can support real analysis and evolve over time. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me on the show as often as you have to share my thoughts. Thank you for having my fellow competitors on the show. I love learning more about them and their processes and their strengths and weaknesses. And thank you. And let's just say it right now. Thank you to Christian and Mark. They put this thing together. We're all having a great time, and none of us would be here doing this right now were it not for them. But no one would be here at this 100th episode were it not for the hosts of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Rundown. You guys are fantastic. You guys are you're a big part of the community. So thank you. Thank you for everything you do, and most importantly, growl growl.
Hey, I'm driving, and I figured why not do it carpool style, considering I've done so much, news and stuff. And happy 100th episode to the Schmoedown Rundown. What a great show this has been. It is the sports center of Schmoedown, and I listen to it all the time. I listen to it every weekend. I have been since its inception, since the first little pilot. And I'd like to thank Aaron Turner for really bringing this thing to fruition, and to the boys hosting it now, to the hosts of the past. Thank you so much for everything that you guys have done. Brad and Frank, Chris Clark, right now, you guys are running a ship that is just, it's incredible. And also, thanks to Paul, thanks to Brian. I'm going to do that as well, because I think that everybody has built this show up, and it has really been a lot of fun to listen to get the competitors in there to give their takes, and I think it shows a behind the curtain in a way that I think is necessary, and I'm glad that you guys do it. I'm appreciative that you guys do it. I really love the show, and I'm so glad that you guys have done 100, and I can't wait to see what's on the show today. So I'll be listening, boys. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.
And we are back here on Rundown 100, #Rundown, boys. We just had like 15 minutes of people putting me over and mentioning Aaron and Frank in passing.
Yeah, just barely.
What's your idea of putting you over?
Talking about how great I am.
Well, they said they didn't use your name specifically, so that could have been anybody.
No, I think I heard my name, or it was definitely inferred. But let's actually discuss a couple things here. First of all, shout out to Bibbs, Rachel, Christian, Dale the Dude, Taylor, Brianne, and Mike Kalinowski for taking the time to do that. That's awesome of them to, even think that this show has had any real impact on the Schmoedown is pretty cool. And Aaron, once again, I do have to give you some credit, as much as it pains me to do so. Coming up with this idea was a great idea. I think it was a show that needed to be done by somebody, and it might as well have been you. Throughout the ups and the downs of the show, the different host changes, you've always been somebody who the Schmoedown community has loved, and I'm glad that you have joined us on the 100th episode, if for no other reason than to at least talk more so Frank Janisch talks less.
This is mean. Sorry, Frank. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please talk.
Frank, do you have anything to say about the video we just saw?
It's hard to really gauge how much, or if at all, the rundown has had sort of like an impact on players or even the community at large. Because I just kind of always viewed the show as a couple of idiots just talking about a movie trivia show, a silly movie trivia show on the internet. I mean, that's really what it is. And the fact that it's been taken as a legitimate asset to the Schmoedown. It's I don't know. I never imagined that in a million years. To hear all those kind words from everybody you just listed off, Brad. That's not something like I ever dream about hearing, or what I aim for, or I want to make this person happy, or anything like that. And so to hear that kind of stuff. I don't know. I really don't even know actually what to think about it in the moment, because this is a silly podcast. We do this for fun, and the Schmoedown though is a very serious part. Has become a very serious part of my life, especially doing this show, and it's I don't know, man. It's weird. It's cool. It's really. Basically left me speechless on what to say. I really don't know what to say when people say so many nice things about you, and everybody else that has been on this show, that's taken their time, competitors, to be on this show. I mean, we do this on Friday nights like 90% of the time, and for people to like hop on, and they're on the West Coast, so it's like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Some people want to be out with their friends, have it a happy hour, or doing other things. But they find the time, and I cannot express just how thankful I am for all those people to take the time, especially like Bibbs or Rachel's been on a lot. The Action Guy's been on a lot. There's some people who have been on a lot more than others, but they're all important nonetheless. But those that who take the time continuously, or who find the time continuously to have that time to give to us and to give to really the Schmoedown community, we're just kind of like a proxy for that, So. I really appreciate all those messages, and this probably went in a more serious tone than Brad was expecting. Because
I don't know what's going on right now.
Because Brad's a jerk.
I find it hard to take life seriously at all, but I do appreciate when people take time to appreciate other people. Did that make any sense? And speaking of appreciating people, y'all both said no at the same time. That was really good. Speaking of appreciating people, there's a person who, in my estimation, does not get nearly enough love on this show and does not get talked about enough. And that is, of course, Paul Wolf. Absolutely joking at that one. I mean, Chris Clark. Chris Clark has been somebody who I did not know until the first time we did the video thing. I don't think I'd ever talked to Chris before in my life. I don't think that we had any interactions, Chris. And you have become one of the most pleasurable people to spend time with, especially on a Friday night when I could be out with my girlfriend at several other events. And, I have to look at Frank, but at least Chris Clark is here. And guys, I don't want to be too patting ourselves on the back here, but the work that Chris does is nothing short of amazing.
Yes.
I know we get the host labels and we're on the air and they're the personalities, but the producer is the lifeblood. If we were a band, to speak in terms that Chris, you and I would definitely understand, you are the rhythm section. You are the bass and the drums. You're what keeps it going. We just like to fill it in there with some, Steven Tyler style and a little bit of Angus Young from Frank. And you are really the rhythm section that keeps us on pace and keeps us on beat. And I think without you, definitely video wouldn't be even an option. It wouldn't even be something that we would have attempted. And I think that the video portion of this show has grown it exponentially and has allowed a new audience to come into the show and learn about the show and watch the show and enjoy it from a different aspect. So all credit where credit is due. Senor, I got it right this time, Christopher, Rapilio, Bisquete, Clarkish, Janish, Aaron Turner, Paul Wolf, Vicente, Fox, Cristobal Colon.
Oh my
Thank you,
Oh.
Mr. Chris Clark.
I love all of you guys. It's an awesome pleasure to be on this show day in and day out. This has just been a huge honor, and you guys made me blush redder than a very red pepper. But this was I don't know.
I thought you were say like
Sure,
sauce, like a
sure.
sauce,
But yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
or a
You made me
tomato.
blush redder
As
than
red
a
as
very
can.
red pepper.
Right.
But yeah, thank you so much for those kind words, Brad, Frank, Aaron. It's always great to have you guys. And here's to maybe 300 more. It's going to be fantastic. Journey's just begun.
He's always putting these lofty expectations on people, whether it's Bibbs or this show. It's like, Bibbs, you're going to hold it for that title for the rest of your life, and the Rundown's doing 1 million episodes, and that's it.
I saw the fear in Frank's eyes when he said 300. He's like, "Oh, hold on,
Yeah,
hold on."
yeah. Because Aaron, you and I have had like similar stints. Like we just come in, and then it hasn't been the 100 episodes. Frank Janisch is the only one who's really been here for 100 shows, and I don't know how the hell that he's done it. Do you,
I
Aaron?
have no life. I have no life.
Well, that's facts.
We'll figure that
Facts.
out.
I truly
Hashtag
think that,
without a life.
now listen, like we've waxed philosophically and gone very deep, but I got to be truthful, man. Like Frank Janisch is the lifeblood of the show. He is the backbone of the show. We've talked about this. I'm not just kissing his ass because I don't have to kiss his ass.
True.
He's not in the room with me. I don't have to kiss his ass. It's not my wife. I don't have to do that. But I'm just saying, like, huh? But anyway, rewind that. She doesn't watch. She don't care. But I'm just saying, like, Frank really is the lifeblood of the show, man. Like, you go into the communities, Frank's always interacted with people. People are always happy to talk with Frank, whether it be, Linus, like, throwing some jabs at Frank back and forth, having a fun go back and forth. Frank's always a guy you can go to for, a guy that if you needed, like, a representation, an ambassador for the Schmoedown and what it means to a fan community, Frank Janisch is that guy. And I think he carries that flag very well for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Frank, don't talk. I'm going to try to put you over here. I do agree.
You already done it enough, brother. Don't do it too much.
It is. I kind of got thrown into the wolves here, the Paul Wolves, and I didn't know what to.
No, you
I
weren't
didn't know
actually.
Yeah, thank God. But I just was one day. It was like ordained. You're the host now. Oh, look at that beautiful Siberian Husky. It's of sable color. And it's a beautiful dog. It looks to be about 7 years old. Am I right?
She's 9.
9. I'm close. Though. I'm good with dogs, man. I have a husky as well. Shout out to Cody. But this is not what we're talking about here. Nope. We're talking about Frank. We're talking about Frank Janisch. Yeah, I was kind of thrown in here, and you don't know what kind of chemistry you're going to have with people. And out of everybody who was on that current iteration of the Schmoedown Rundown, I knew I had the most interaction with Aaron and Brian. I didn't know Frank really that well, and to get thrown in there quickly, Frank Janisch became one of the most favorite people I've ever hosted a podcast with, and I've hosted several, even with somebody named Peaches, who I don't know why I just gave her a shout out, but Frank's been one of the easiest people to work with. He's always on his game, even in the times where you are not the most eloquent, and you can tell you've had a long day working your day job. You still are incredibly. You add so much to the show, and I know that your mother likes to watch the Rundown.
I think she's watching right now. Yeah,
and I've called you many times on this show an idiot, and that it came from upbringing, and I never meant it once. To break kayfabe here, obviously you're awesome guy, a friend, I would say, and I hope there is not another 100 episodes. So I hope to God there is not, but if there is, I couldn't. What
does that
mean? I don't know. I have Friday nights, brother, but at least I know that I'm spending with somebody who I enjoy talking to. So there's Frank Janisch's shining moment in the sun as far as in the Brad Gilmore universe.
And Brad Gilmore, I hate you. Just want to throw that out there. Hate your guts.
Let me just. I don't know what we have. What we're going to cover next, but before we get
we'll get there.
We got time.
Aaron obviously is the only reason I'm here, And it's not. I mean, you would think I would say Christian Harloff. That's not necessarily true. He's like number 2 on that list, but it's really Aaron. If it wasn't for Aaron to ask me to do it full time when he did it way back in the beginning, I wouldn't be here for episode 100. And I've gotten to know Aaron, over the course of almost 2 years now. It'll be, I think, was it October or late September? Will be like the actual 2-year anniversary. Yeah. Wow. Shit. But I think when I went out for Star Wars Celebration, I'd only talked to Aaron over Skype or Google Hangouts. Never seen him in person in life. And I will admit, the first time you picked me up at the airport, and it was a little strange, but I just go back to all the conversations we've had about the Schmoedown and how there was just this friendly conversation we would have, and it was easy in that sense. And then staying at your house, your lovely wife allowed that to happen. Let's be frank.
She sure did. Let's be frank. She sure did.
Yes. And I think after that, I mean, we did one of the most infamous episodes while I was there. It was the free-for-all commentary that we just got. There's multiple facets to that, and that was something that will never happen again as long as Aaron has a say.
Let's do a commentary next week.
Yeah,
in the morning Schmoedown.
But it's moments like that, and spending that whole time at Celebration with Aaron, I think really grew a friendship there. And afterwards, and when he wanted to leave, I understood it, because I was like, to be honest, I was thinking about it as well. But I always appreciated Aaron for doing the show for as long as he did. I know he has other stuff to be doing. A lot of people have other stuff to be doing. But Aaron, especially helming the ship, and I learned a lot from Aaron, really, just to how to operate this show. Even though the couple times I've had to host haven't really gone as well as Aaron or Brad have done. I feel like I learned, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be confident at all on those few times. And to get to Brad, I had no idea about you either, really. I only heard you on. So, and I thought you were much older. I really did. I thought you were much older, man. I was like, this guy, he comes from wrestling. This dude is like a fucking professional, man. Like, holy shit. Like, he does radio, Booker T, the whole nine. And it turns out you're just a kid. So, but no, in all honesty, Brad, I've learned a lot from Brad, because he is a professional at what he does here for the rundown, everything else he does. That what he does outside here, I think he brings to this show, and I'm able to learn from that. And so I'm very grateful for everyone who's been on the show. I learned a little bit of something from everybody, and because when I started, I'm just an amateur. I didn't know anything. If it wasn't for everybody else that's been on this show as a host, co-host, this show would have tanked. I like 100%. Say that I'm the backbone or whatever, but without you guys, I would have been exposed. And I've just been able to hide behind you long enough to learn a little bit to be somewhat competent. So thank you.
Well, there you go. Somewhat Competent is the name of Frank Janish's autobiography. But let's go into the before I want to talk about the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament, the Anarchy brackets. The bracketology was released today. I think that we should close the show with that talk, and I believe there's one more video of self-congratulations and patting ourselves on the back and having people say nice things about us for no apparent reason. So Chris Clark, let's go to that, and then we're going to come back. And we're actually going to have, I think there's actually a couple of little promos that we need to do here. And then we're going to talk about the Anarchy match. So, Chris Clark, you take it away again, brother.
Yeah, these are the past hosts and friends of the actual show itself. These are people that are treasured by all of us here. And I'm going to play it, and let's rock this.
Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of the Schmoedown Rundown. My name is Aaron. I will be your MC for these proceedings in this inaugural episode. First of all, I want to thank the panel for joining me. I got a lot of positive response from Schmoeville. I really, really appreciate that, guys. You know me, you heard my name, so I want to go around. I want to talk to the other people on the panel today. First of all, I'm going to lead off with Frank. Tell you a little bit about Frank first. He is the stat man. So I'm going to let Frank tell you, what he's doing and where he first discovered the Schmoes, and then we'll go on from there. So, Frank.
All right, yeah, my name is Frank Janisch. I'm from Chicago, and I've only recently been involved or watching the Schmoes / Collider crew probably like a little less than a year, actually. And then when I heard the Schmoes restarting up again, I checked out their live show. I was like, oh, this is really cool stuff. Because I had only seen Christian and Mark Ellis on Collider up until that point, because I think the show was on a little bit of a hiatus. And then the Schmoedown started, and I was like, oh, man, this is awesome. And like after the first episode of the new Trivia Schmoedown, I went back to the 2014 Ultimate Tournament, and that's when I was like, I think I'm gonna do like stats, because like I want to know exactly where everyone kind of stands, because it's I think this, but maybe it's really this, and so then it just kind of ballooned and grew over time, and now I just have this kind of this elaborate database of stats, and it's been pretty fun to track it and see just how good everyone is doing or perceived to be doing, and then I can really be like, actually, that's not really the case, because I'll point to this case, which I had a strong case early on with Finstock, because his ranking was so high early on. I was like, that's not right at all. But
no joke, yeah.
Crazy.
But that's kind of but. So it's been fun. It's been fun, and I'm looking forward to doing this. So,
right on, brother. All right. Next, also we have Matthew. Matthew, what's going on, dude?
Hello there, Rundown crew and fans. So, Chris Clark asked me to, in celebration of 100 episodes of the Schmoedown Rundown, to sort of talk about, I guess, my experience with it or share memories. But I was on the first episode of the Schmoedown Rundown. It was Aaron Turner, Frank Janisch, Evan DeGraff, and myself. And I remember when Aaron Turner sort of brought up this idea in the groups. I'm not sure if it's Schmoeville or the MTS page, but he brought it up. It was kind of like, I want to do an ESPN after show for the Schmoedown. I was like, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think about that? And they was kind of just asking who would want to be on it, and I just said, yeah, sure, I would love to talk about the Schmoedown. And I think it was just a first come, first served basis. And I was on that first episode, which it is so weird to remember, and I remember a lot of things about that episode. And then I was on episode 6. Frank was out of commission for that episode, and it was at that time Paul Wolf had joined, and Aaron just kind of was like, hey, you want to come on? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it's been pretty cool as a friend of a lot of the people who work on that show, and as a fan of the Schmoedown, and also someone who is connected to the Rundown in that way. I was a part of the pilot. I was a part of the episode that sort of sold Christian Harloff, I guess, on that, hey, this thing of people talk about the Schmoedown in sort of a long form way can work. So it's I feel very privileged to have been a part of Schmoedown Rundown history so early on, to see the show grow to 100 episodes, because it don't feel like it was that long ago I was on that Google Hangout call. But to Brad, Frank, and Chris, congrats on 100 episodes, and here's to the next 100.
And now, and the last panelist we have for today, it is Evan. Evan, what's up, buddy?
Well, my stint on the Rundown episode was pretty cool. I was on the very first episode with Matthew Kearns and Aaron Turner. It was a ton of blast. My mom walked in, and that was kind of interesting because I was kind of new to this whole community thing at the time, and she didn't understand what it was. I barely understood, but it was a good time. I didn't appear on the show for reasons bearing. I didn't have the time, to be honest. But then I came back, I shot some videos during Star Wars Celebration with both Aaron and Frank. They are the kindest of gentlemen. And then, also with the Schmoedown Trivia Schmoedown, it's always been a good time. I'm Mr. Controversial. That's normal, and Chris is one of the best editors that this space has to offer, and he puts on a great show every time with Frank and Brad Gilmore. And that's what makes the Rundown special, is because it's special people running a special show. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, the animal, Aaron Turner, and his co-host, the king of the ding, Paul Wolf.
What's up, Schmoedown fans? This is Paul Wolf, former co-host of the Schmoedown Rundown and your current Rundown Schmoedown champion. Wanted to take an opportunity out of my busy schedule here to congratulate everyone on 100 episodes. And I wanted to thank Aaron and Frank for giving me the opportunity to spend all of those days working on the show, getting it off the ground, and really, really cherish the moments talking matches, interviewing the people involved, and just having a blast. Brad, I want to also congratulate you, and heck, if you can tolerate Frank for close to 100 episodes, here's to 100 more. Cheers.
My boys over at the Schmoedown Rundown is hitting 100 episodes. That's crazy because I've probably listened to all those 100 episodes. Maybe. Didn't really get on at the early start, but the whole crew of the Schmoedown Rundown, Frank, Brian, Chris Clark, you guys do an amazing job, and I love watching the show every single week. And yeah, it was one of my highlights of the year being on that one episode where I was called a lot older than I was, but now apparently I'm 8. And I'm having an ice cream cake birthday party, which is actually going to happen right after this video, and you're all welcome to come. So thank you anyways. Anyways, the Schmoedown Rundown is a fantastic show. It gives you great insight into the Schmoedown, and it makes the Schmoedown last longer, which is what I love about it. Most every personality on the show has been fantastic. Shout out to Aaron Turner, Paul Wolf for what they've done to the show, and it's great to see you guys hit 100 episodes, because I remember seeing on Twitter when Aaron first sent out the tweet to Christian saying, "What about a Schmoedown after show?" And look what happened to it. It's one of my favorite podcasts. I listen to it every week. You guys do an amazing job. Hashtag Rundown Boys. The Rundown Boys are always going to be with you and support you to the very end. And let's hope for hundreds and hundreds of episodes more, maybe. I'm sure they wouldn't like that, though. They probably want a break. Anyways, Rundown Boys.
Schmoedown Rundown, 100 episodes. Congratulations, guys. Skaliski here. Just want to jump in and say thank you for 100 amazing episodes of content, bringing analysis and behind the scenes and interviews from anything Schmoedown. It really has helped, take the Schmoedown to the next level. Having a show that every week we can, someone can tune in, get caught up on the news, what happened, analysis, stats. Get some amazing interviews. You guys have had some awesome interviews over the past 100 episodes. Great content, and out of 100 episodes, I can't believe there wasn't one time that there was anything said on the show that I remotely disagreed with at all. But well done to Frank, to Brad, to Chris, to Paul Wolf, to Aaron Turner, who started the show, and everyone that's been involved in the show, behind the scenes, on the air, interviews, everything. Congratulations to 100 amazing episodes, and here's to 100 more. And if you don't mind me, I've got some carrots to eat and a brand new toothbrush to test out, so I'm going to go do that right now because I'm really excited for that.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Adams, and I'm here to talk about the Schmoedown Rundown and what it means to me. What the Rundown means to me is community. Since 2014, I've been a fan of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, and so since early on, I discovered this awesome podcast where these guys talked about the show. I've enjoyed, awesome hosts like Aaron and Brad, and of course Frank with all of stats, and that show kind of inspired me to kind of do my own thing, to find some other fans online and start our own fan leagues. And because of that, I've made awesome friends. I've done shows of my own. I've done so many great things. I got to go to a live event and actually was able to, as a question writer, work on the Rundown Schmoedown event. So actually kind of collaborated with these guys, and it's just been so amazing. And it's these guys who love this thing and made a product of their own that inspired me. And because of that, my life has changed in some awesome ways, and I've met so many great people, and I've been a part of so many great things, and actually got a chance to meet Frank in person at a fan event, and he was so awesome and inviting, and it's because of that and what these guys do that I'm just excited to be a part of it in some small way, and to be a fan as always, and just keep doing what you're doing, guys.
So here we are, 100 episodes, celebrating the Schmoedown Rundown. Some of the hardest working people in the Schmoedown fandom, some of the hardest working people I've ever met, celebrating a show that for all of us is one of the greatest things, not just online, but in the form of entertainment, period, right now. This is one of the best podcasts that I could possibly listen to, and I mean that completely objectively. It doesn't matter if I know the host. It doesn't matter if I know all the hard work that Chris Clark does behind the scenes that I really, really love and appreciate. But more than that, I love that this show deep dives into something that we all love so much and celebrates in a lot of ways, while also critiquing in certain ways what the Movie Trivia Schmoedown has become. I don't think that when this first started as a bit on the Schmoedown, or on the Schmoes No, I'm sorry, that the Schmoedown ever becoming what it was could even have been thought of. And now here we are, multiple seasons into this, with incredible actors, but more so, this show has spun off its own podcast, hosted by Frank Janisch and Brad Gilmore, who are doing such amazing work. And every week, in and out, whenever I listen, I can't get enough. This is just continually so fantastic. And I hope that everyone who's listening continues to enjoy the hard work that they're doing and the great content they're putting out. I mean, the Stats Man is one of the greats. Brad Gilmore, he's so much fun to listen to. And of course, who doesn't love Chris Clark? And all the amazing guests that they've had along the way, from competitors to people that we've had that are just in the community. I was lucky to be on the show a couple of times, and I hope to be back again. But right now, all I want to do is say, guys, congratulations. 100 episodes is nothing but remarkable. I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you so much for the continued amazing content that you're putting out. And thank you, Mark and Christian, for giving this an outlet to let us even geek out more about the Schmoedown more than we already do twice a week with the matches. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for all the continued support that everyone has shown them. And guys, here's to 100 more.
Brad Gilmore, he challenged me to movie trivia.
So Frank, there was something that we kind of discussed before that I wanted to just lay out on the table here. My, what would you call it, strong suit?
Brad Gilmore, he thinks he knows Back to the Future, which is only like 3 movies, so that's pretty easy.
It will be an all Back to the Future rundown Schmoedown.
Frank Jinga Janish. I'm going to take you down brick by brick, block by block.
They are very nice to each other, aren't they? Just pleasant and sweet?
You go put on your little blazers and your little plastic loafers.
Oh, brother! Brad Gilmore brought the rundown to a whole nother level.
That's simply not going to happen here, little boy. We'll run along and do something else with your time.
And let's get ready to run down.
What's up, everybody? It's your man, Brad Gilmore, the host of the Schmoedown Rundown. And before we start the show today,
special announcement. I just want to shout out a new supporter of the Rundown, and that's Audible. Audible is the home of hundreds of thousands of audiobooks, and I'm going to venture a guess that if you like listening to podcasts, then you might like listening to audiobooks. I'm just throwing a shot in the dark there. So if you do, go over to audibletrial.com/Schmoedown right now. And what Audible is prepared to do for you, the listeners and the viewers of the Schmoedown Rundown, is they're going to offer you a free 30-day trial of their service and one free audiobook that you get to keep forever. So whether you keep the service, whether you cancel the service, you keep that audiobook forever. They have so many titles to choose from. Right now, I'm actually listening to The Lost World by Michael Crichton, and it's a little bit better than the movie. I'm just saying. Oh, man. My Twitter just blew up. But hey, that's not the point. The point is, if you want to get more stuff from the Schmoedown Rundown, more special episodes like the Rundown Schmoedown between myself, Frank Janisch, Paul Wolf, and Aaron Turner, the fatal four-way to the end to declare the first ever Rundown champion? If you want more stuff like that, then we need your support, and we need you to support our sponsors. So go over to audibletrial.com/Schmoedown. That's audibletrial.com/Schmoedown. Do it right now. I'd do it for you.
In the team tournament, the Ultimate Schmoedown Team Tournament 2018, the theme is Anarchy. Anarchy. Anarchy.
Well, the Back to the Future match is upon us. It's going to be going down in the near future. But I do have to address one thing. Aaron Turner, don't roll your eyes. Because there is no such thing as the Rundown Schmoedown Championship. I'm just going to throw that out there. It doesn't exist. So shout out to you, Mr. Wolf. Doesn't exist, brother.
Stop burying the guy, man. God.
I'm not burying him. You know, you give and you take. You give and you take. You know, I do have to shout out one other person, though, and it's not the king of the ding. I got to shout out to the 7-year-old Linus Babcock, because Linus Babcock gave us the name #Rundown Boys with a Z. And Aaron, that was prior to your, that was post your era. So, you know, but you have been grandfathered into #Rundown Boys with a Z. He's been grandfathered in.
I don't know if
He's the elder statesman.
Term works. Is that right?
I think that it is.
I don't know how hashtags work.
I don't know, but whatever. You're a part of it now. You're a part of it now. And you know what? Even Brian Davids is a part of it now. Shout out to him because he did host this show, or was a member of this show with the three of us for quite some time. I got just 2 words to say to Brian Davids. Toothpaste carrots. Aaron, do you have anything that you would like to say?
Thank you for all your hard work, Brian. And yeah, that's it.
Frank?
Yeah, it was a very interesting time, and let's just...
I got an idea. Let's move on. Let's talk about the...
you literally have an actual light bulb right there just for that little bit?
I did.
I mean, the commitment.
That's why behind him is so dark, because he took out the light.
Because he took the light. You're right, yeah.
Well, before this show runs off the train tracks any further, let's put a bow on this bad boy, as I like to say, and let's talk about the Ultimate Schmoedown Championship, or the Ultimate Schmoedown Tournament. Anarchy rules, brother. That's a ECW pay-per-view, I believe, from back in the day, Aaron Turner. Correct. You have prepared, Aaron, unlike anything Frank and I have ever done in the history of our existence. So why don't we discuss your bracketology, your bracket breakdown here on the 100th edition of the Rundown, or the Schmoedown Rundown. What do you have as far as the Anarchy tournament goes? Tell us how you have it all playing out.
Okay, brother. Let's start out with the top left corner, Chris Clark. I hope that's okay. Top left, the live match, Roca and Merle versus Marshall and Howard. I'm taking Roca and Merle. I think it makes sense. I like Stacy as a competitor. I think she's awesome. I think it would be awesome if she put John Roca through a table. I think that'd be really funny. But I'll take Roca and Merle here. I think they could go pretty far. The next match, Kalinowski and Ellison versus Silvestrini and Stewart. I got KO and Ellison because I think that Chance is a wild card in this. Nobody knows like what he's capable of unless you're in the fan league. So, I mean, some of us know what he's capable of, and Kalinowski, one of the better competitors in the tournament. So I'll give them the edge there. As we move down, Bibiani and Nost is the one that I'm actually like curling. If I had a mustache, I would curl at the end. Like if I was Brad Gilmore and had like a mustache, I'd curl. Because if I'm Bibbs, I'm the champion. And Nost, I left Matt Nost when I was with the Four Horsemen. I'm taking a dive if I'm Bibbs. I'm taking a dive because what does Bibbs gain from winning the team belts? Like, what does he gain from being in this?
A belt.
He's got one. He's got the belt.
Yeah, but Sam Levine had both belts, and he was widely regarded as one of the greatest players to ever play the game. I think Bibiani would like to be in the conversation.
Listen, man, I love the Anarchy format. It's like Battle Bowl back in the day. Like, I really think it's cool. But one of the things I think you're going to run into is like these people, if you have a real wild card team that wins the championship, like with Ben and Andrew, like if Ben and Mark Riley win the title, they're not boys. Like they said they were kind of boys, but like, what if Bibbs wins, but Whitney doesn't? Then they're on critically acclaimed. It's like, what? Like, it just kind of throws everything out of whack. I could totally see. Exactly. I'm telling you, if I'm Bibbs, take a dive. Take a dive on Matt Nost. So,
well, that's odd because I have them winning the whole thing.
Do you really?
I do.
Why?
Interesting.
We talked about it, I think when we first went through the team reveal. I think that out of all the teams, they actually balance each other out the best. You have William Bibiani, who has very, very strong movie knowledge, but lacks in certain elements where Matt Nost picks up. You know, I think chief among them would be sports movies, of course, stuff like that, and around that arena for Matt Nost, I think that he's very good at that. I think Bibiani's good at obviously what we know Bibbs is good at. He's good at most things because he's the champion. I just like the way they balance each other out. I also like how Ben and Riley balance each other out as well, and I think that you'd be stupid to say that Roca and Merle can't go very far, if not all the way in this tournament. But my pick officially is Bibbs and Nost.
I'm telling you, take a dive. So I got Irwin and Graves winning that match. So take that one. Riley and Bateman versus Zipper and Fouch. I think that might be an easy pick. I'll take Riley and Bateman on that side. So let's move over to the right-hand side, top right corner. You've got Snyder and Andraco versus Mance and Gerber. So you got Andraco and Snyder, former stablemates. Like, how are they going to gel together? I think that's a really good team that could surprise some people. I'm going with Snyder and Android in that one. I think they'll get a win there. The Machine and does that say I can't see that. Walton versus Atchity.
You're bored, brother.
I'm sorry, man. It's God, sorry. Atchity and Duralde. I think that Atchity and Duralde is the most dangerous team in this tournament. I really do. I think they could do some massive damage. I think a lot of people are going to count them out. I'm going to take them. I think they're going to go real far. And then you got JTE and Lon Harris versus the Wildberries. Probably the easiest pick in this entire tournament. The Wildberries are here for some reason. They're not any good. So
Bite your tongue, Aaron Turner.
One half.
Yeah, really, Aaron. I bite my thumb at thee with that one.
One half of them is a garbage person. So I'm going to take JTE and Harrison, probably the easiest victory so far. McWeeny and Chandler versus Seibold and Hewick. Sorry. I'm going to take Seibold and Hewick to go over McWeeny and Chandler. I got so much faith in Whitney. I think Whitney on his own could do a lot of damage.
Amen to
so,
that.
Thank you, Chris. I knew you would be. So let's move to the second round. So we got Roca and Merle versus KO and Ellison. I got to take Roca and Merle here. I think it's a strong team. It's a really great pairing. They're going to be tough to beat. Down on the other side, we got Irwin and Graves versus Riley and Bateman. I got to go with Irwin and Graves here, man. I think they could do some damage in this tournament. Riley and Bateman, somewhere it's going to come off. And you can shake your head all you want. This is for funsies. So
I
I'm
had an itch. I had a crink in my neck.
Oh, okay, cool.
But also, no, yeah, I also disagree though too. Yeah.
It's like also, yeah, screw you. So on the other side, we've got Snyder and Andreyko versus Ashity and Duralde. I think this is going to be a hell of a match. Probably one of the best in the tournament. Ashity and Duralde moving on past Snyder and Android. And then JT Lon Harris versus Seibold and Hewick.
Yeah.
Hewick. I'm going to take Whitney, Seibold, and Hewick to go to the semifinals here. Hot take, I know, because JT and Lon Harris, probably a great team as well. Anything you guys got there? Want to call me an idiot or what?
Well, I mean, I really pretty much think that you wasted your time putting this bracket together because it's completely wrong.
Okay. All right, moving on to the final four. Thank you for your time. Roca and Merle versus Irwin and Graves. This is where it comes off the wagon for the Outlaw. And the dangerous one, Irwin and Graves to the finals. Roca and Merle are out of the tournament. I just feel it, man. I just feel it. On the other side, Ashity and Duralde versus Seibold and Hewick. Ashity and Duralde going to the finals. So you got four people that have never been a champion, that have... Matt Ashity has tasted the great success. Ethan Irwin very close. So Ashity, Duralde, Irwin, and Graves, and your team champion of Anarchy, Matt Ashity and Alonzo Duralde. Hot take, wild card pick.
Yeah. Hot take, more like hot garbage. I think
hot
that
dubs
you're
and hot L's,
completely
Brad.
wrong. Hot dubs and hot L's is correct. But I think that you're completely wrong on this. But if you say you're correct, let's operate in some fantasy world where you might be actually correct, at least somewhat partially correct. I don't think that Ashity and Duralde have a shot at beating the Shirewolves. I don't even think it's a possibility.
I think you'd be very wrong.
I mean, but look, we've seen
discounting-
Matt Ashity in team situations before, right?
Sure.
And get close to an opportunity to play for the championships, to get close to winning the championships. He can't grab the brass ring, brother. And you could throw the heat on Gray Drake if you want.
No.
But I just don't think, DJ Khaled talks about cloth talk, right? And you got to be cut from a special cloth. I don't know, as knowledgeable as Matt Ashity is, I don't know if he's got that cloth talk that Clark Wolf and Rachel Cushing have. I don't know if he's got that cloth talk that Courtney and Sam Levine had. I just don't think so. And I just think I think that your entire selection for this Anarchy team match is completely corrupt. I don't know if somebody put you up to it. I don't know if you've been paid off to peddle this nonsensical babble on the 100th episode of the Schmoedown Rundown. I don't know if you're now working for a state-run media company and you're putting out purposeful and intentional propaganda over the YouTube airwaves. But
my dogs are mad about it.
I think you don't get hot about it, brother. I'm just spitting hot facts. I think that you're completely off base on this one, Aaron Turner. And you know that I respect you in a variety of different ways, but in this one, in this particular instance, I've lost all respect for your credibility when it comes to predicting the ultimate Schmoedown tournament. Once again, I believe you to be corrupt.
Well, I would like to actually quote DJ Khaled as well and say, you played yourself. Because I think you're looking at the wrong person. You're looking at Matt Ashity as a guy that can't grab the brass ring. You're looking at the wrong guy. Because Alonzo Duralde is the guy that can create a lot. He's mad. My dog is mad. You can create this guy can create a lot of damage. You got to listen to this guy talk movies. He knows exactly what he's talking about. Critic for a long time. He and Ashity work together. He's on the Bibbs level, and Bibbs is the champion. I mean, come on. You're looking at the wrong guy.
Nonsense.
Hey, okay, hold on here. I just want to give you guys my final four as I'm looking at the bracket, and I haven't really put a whole lot of thought into it because I wanted to save it actually for the live show. But here's where I'm going to give you my final four, and I think the bottom right bracket is probably the toughest region of that bracket with JTE Harris, Makuga, Dewberry, McQueenie, Chandler, Seibel, and Hewick. But I'm going to say McQueenie and Chandler come out of that into the semifinal. I think at the top right, Snyder and Andreyko will come out on top. But I also want to say they're going to face Janine Machine and Walton in a match to get to the semifinal, and Snyder and Draco will win. I think Machine and Walton are going to beat Ashley and Duralde in the first round. I do. And but I have Snyder and Draco in the semifinal against McWeeny and Chandler. And then I got Roca Merle making it to the semifinal, and I got Riley Bateman in the semifinal. And then I got Roca Merle versus McWeeny and Chandler in the final with Roca Merle winning it. I do.
Well, Frank Janisch, right now you need to know your role and you need to shut your mouth, because there's only one way to end the 100th episode of the Schmoedown Rundown. And Aaron, I told you that you were spewing propaganda, that you are now state-run media, and I'm not going to allow your corruption to be involved anymore, because right now joining us on the 100th edition of the Schmoedown Rundown is the man himself. You can call him KO. You can call him the killer. Maybe he's the next 007. I don't know, but he is Mike Kalinowski. Welcome to the show, Mike Kalinowski. Round of applause, Aaron. Clap, Aaron. Clap.
Wow. Thank you,
Mike
gentlemen.
Kalinowski is on the show. Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic today. Fantastic.
Yes, awesome.
How's everyone doing over there? How are we all doing?
Good.
Peachy.
Good. My butt hurts.
We're doing great. You know,
been sitting down for a long time, guys. I mean,
well, that's
right,
an awkward
that too.
comment to make so late in the
it's a true one,
broadcast,
though.
Frank Janisch. But let's talk to Mike Kalinowski. Mike, thank you for joining us here on the 100th edition of the Schmoedown Rundown. But let's talk about you for a minute, ma'am, because
let's do my favorite topic.
I believe. Well, it is mine too. That's interestingly we share that. But you have become the face and the star of this show that we watch on a weekly basis, twice a week actually. The Schmoedown Rundown. How do you feel so far about Mike Kalinowski's 2018?
Well, you know, guys, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about making the tournament better. About giving people that had a chance, you know. It's funny I say that. Giving Chance a chance. Chance Ellis coming in there. You know, a guy like him. New face to the league. We got Mara Knopik, who, you know, she's a superstar. People love her, and rightfully so. So it's not about me. It's about, you know, I could not be happier with the way things are going right now.
Well, you talk about Mara Knopik.
Yes.
How did you feel, though, this Inner Geekdom tournament that was set up? A lot of people assumed that you might pull some trickery. You know, if you weren't in the finals, if you weren't at the live event competing for the championship. You know, Aaron Turner, I'm sick of you. Leave. But I'm back. Sorry about that, Mike. Leave, Aaron Turner. I don't want to see your face ever again. But you didn't do that. You did not insert yourself in any kind of thing. Talk to me about the loss against Mara Knopik.
Well, first of all, a loss is a loss, and I'd always said that. It wasn't about winning or losing. Was I in it for the belt? Absolutely. You know, like I'd said, Mara got that opportunity because we got past the five-way. Those five-ways were terrible, and people were saying, you know, what are you going to do, Mike? You're going to, you know, manipulate the system, so even though you lost, you're still going to play it at the live event, and that would defeat who I am and what I stood for. I'm a man of my word. I've said it from the beginning. I'm not doing trickery. I'm not doing, you know, whatever to happen. She played a great game. The questions fall where the questions fall, you know, and I think everyone could speak to that 5-point question. You know, I'll leave it to everyone's own opinion on what it was. So, then again, it wasn't about just the Inner Geekdom. It was beyond that. We're now kind of what I would like to call phase 2 of corruption. And just, you know, with the Anarchy tournament now starting and getting underway. So, you know, and then after that, we're going to keep on moving and keep on going to the singles then. So we got, leveling the playing field and keeping it fair. So I'm excited. Do I wish I was at the live event? Wish I would be there? Absolutely. But here we are. I don't know who I'm rooting for between Mara and Jason, so we're going to see. We'll see what happens.
Are you saying you're not going to have any sort of – your presence will not be felt in any sort of way at the live event?
Well, guys, let me say this. It's not about me. It's not about me. I'm not a competitor in this, so I don't know. I don't know, fellas. I don't know what I would have to say. I don't know what I would have to be able to say in a live event, you know? I don't think I would have anything to say. I don't want to rain on anyone's parades or, step on anyone's toes that deserves to be there or not deserve to be there. That's neither here nor there. Yeah, I don't see a reason why I should be there. So we'll see what happens.
Frank.
Yeah, hey Mike. I was just wondering if you think, as far as Inner Geekdom goes,
yes.
you think the road is done for you this season, or do you think there's maybe a possibility that you get another crack at a title in Inner Geekdom?
That's all up to Thad. The commissioner runs.
But
the board.
Is it up to Thad?
As far as I know, unless you guys know something that I don't know.
As far as I know, Thad is the commissioner of the league. That's what I know. And he makes all the choices and decisions.
If there is some kind of dissension in the ranks about the questions that were asked in my last match, that is not for me to say. That's out of my hands, guys. That's out of my hands. I'm just a competitor. I just like to show up and play the best that I can play. So if I were to be called forward, for another, we got 4 or 5 months left in this year. A lot of time left. A lot of things can change. A lot of things could happen. So we'll see. I don't know, guys. I do what they tell me to. I show up, play the best that I can play, and I go to the next match. So
tell me about what's like your training regimen like for Inner Geekdom. How have you evolved it or changed it up, or what have you found has worked better for you?
For me personally, I don't want to give away too much of what I do study. I've stopped. If you guys noticed, when I first started playing, I was doing a lot of costumes, a lot of entrances, and I know some fans, they love the entrances. For me, the pageantry of it, I would get too wrapped up in. Like, what song am I going to come out to? What entrance am I going to do? What costume am I going to put together? There's other they like to do their whole pomp and circumstance. I've gone beyond that. I'm here just to win belts and play trivia and focus on what I need to do. What I will say is I found what works for me as a competitor. All my matches I've been playing have been getting better and better. So I know it works for me now. So I'm going to keep sticking with that. Hopefully it'll transition into teams, and we'll see from there.
So you do believe that you found the right system for you to be successful in this.
And with Inner Geekdom, going, after a competitor, after a game, you always want to look at, okay, was there a category that I wasn't strong in? What can I work on for them? And good things for me is I was able to see that I can handle a speed round incredibly well. So that was my big concern. I've never done a speed round. So I was like, okay, I got that under my belt, and I know I can do that. I have a couple areas that I've been working on for Inner Geekdom. So we'll see if I'll need to show those off soon or not. Maybe it might not happen until next year.
We have a new singles champion. That is William the Beast Bibiani. And, it's funny when you talk about corruption, you see a lot of things changed in the Schmoedown over the last several months. The once great faction, the Lions, no longer. The greatest team, a lot of people said, the Patriots, no longer.
Sure.
Certain celebrities like Jared Highbon or even Sam Levine, no longer in the league. New champions, new teams. But with Bibiani being the new singles champion, does Mike Kalinowski want to get back into the singles league and potentially be singles champion? Is that something that's on your docket? Is that something that you would like to occur?
Well, there's a lot. What I will say about this, I focus so much on Inner Geekdom, and now I've had to switch gears to the teams, and I'm playing with a person I've never played with before. So there's a lot of, trial and error there. So I haven't had time to focus on singles. But I will say this. There have been so many damn big mouths jumping in this league and tooting their own horn and mouthing off. And they forgot, they're not paying. They might have not, they haven't paid their dues and whatnot to get to the level of the mouth they're talking off. For singles, for me personally, I would not have no problem starting down at the bottom because it's been a while since I've done a singles match. Clark Wolf was my last one. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of some weird shenanigans happening with Emma, throwing that around there. And that kind of started corruption. So now I'm like, you know what? If I have to work my way up from the bottom, I'm going to do that. There are so many mouths running off in this damn league that think they're better than they are. But you know what? I'll put them in their place. That's what I'll do. Because it's interesting. I could take with Inner Geekdom and transition that to everything. I started with that league, and now going into teams, we're going to do the damage we're going to do in this, and we're going to transition to singles. Then after that, hopefully, we'll see what happens.
What team are you?
What's up?
No, I was going to say, which team are you most worried about in the Anarchy tournament?
Worried is a different word that I would not use, just because, I mean, Inner Geekdom, I could have faced off against Cushing or Mara, or, eventually moved to Inman. So it's not something about being worried about. You know what? On my side of the bracket, one thing we've learned, you can't underestimate anyone. Look at Andrew Guy, what he's done.
Sure. You
can't underestimate anyone. So I have the potential on my bracket. I think my next match, if I made it to round 2, would be against Roca and Merle, or Howard and Winston. Howard and Winston, they could win that match. That live event would go nuts if they win that. And I'm sure they're probably the underdogs. Everyone expecting Roca and Merle to win. Who knows what's going to happen? I've never faced either of those guys, so I'm excited to face either of those guys on that, because I've never even been in the same on the table with them. So that will be interesting. Stacey Howard, people sleep on Stacey Howard, but there's a lot of, what is his last name? Hauk with Seibold. Who knows about this guy? No one knows.
Yeah.
People don't know Chance. So this is a very interesting. But that was the point of Anarchy. I wanted to change it up. I wanted it to be, you didn't know what you were going to get. I don't want round 1 easy teams matches, and we're not. We're going to have, well thought out matches that's going to hopefully give the fans great matches from the start. So a lot of people complain, unfairly so, that Inner Geekdom, the tournament, those first early matches were, giveaways or whatever. But, in these teams, we got some solid teams all around. So we'll see what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Now, before we get you out of here, Chris Clark, I want to give the last question to you. Chris, go ahead. Mike Kalinowski.
Look, Mike, I just want to know, when Chance is a really good friend of mine and a lot of people was in Take Threes. I'm just wondering, what was your initial reaction when you found out that you were going to be paired with him, and are you excited about making your debut with him?
Let me stop you right there. Chris. Did you think that I was going to go into this tournament blind? Did you all think I was just going to randomly, maybe if I was smart, maybe I could have researched some players that Noah didn't know. Maybe I could have just had some time on, my own, and looked up some decent players and maybe put them to that. If I was that kind of guy that would do something like that. I'm not that kind of guy. I wanted to trust the system. Yeah, I want to trust the system. I want to trust that. I want it to be fair. So, I wouldn't have looked up this Chance character, this kid, and, just said, Dad, put him in there. Put him in there. He'll be good. He'll be real good. I wouldn't do that. That's not fair to anyone. People that don't know him. They don't know his strengths. They don't know his weaknesses. So, by the luck of the draw, I get this kid, that's a fresh face in the league, a little baby face. Apparently he's good. So, if you're friends with him, Chris, how am I going to do? How is this guy going to help me? What do you think? Let me put it to you guys. You guys probably know him better than I do.
Chris, go ahead.
Well, I hope he's good. I mean, Chance is fantastic.
He's a champ of the fan leagues. So
he's a Chance. Yeah, a champ. So it's just, I have bias towards 2 other people in the tournament. So I hope that you guys go as far as you can without.
I know you and the Beast. I got it. I hear it all the time. Yeah. Okay.
So, but Chance is fantastic though. So you're in good hands.
Okay. Well, hopefully so. I hope that I'm not being punished for doing the right thing and trying to make it all fair. Maybe someone's trying to punish me. Maybe they're trying to manipulate me in the system. But hey, I play the card that was dealt to me with this untested kid. Well, here we go. We got to see what happens, right, guys?
Right, Mike, and we all hope that you have a memorable end to what's been a spectacular year for Mike Kalinowski and for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown.
Bring up that word, Brad. Spectacular.
I don't know what you're referring to, Frank Janisch. So, Mike, thank you for joining us again here on the 100th episode of the Schmoedown Rundown. We definitely appreciate it. Any parting words before you leave us?
Well, Sheep, you guys have been great so far, Sheep. You've been little Sheep, and I love it. I think you guys have gotten on board because you understand. You guys are smart. You understand the system was broken and needed to be fixed. And I appreciate you guys respecting it, that it's going to be fixed. People are saying, is it done? Is it over? Just keep watching. Keep watching.
Well, he said it himself. The killer, Mike Kalinowski. We appreciate you for joining us once again on the 100th episode of the Schmoedown Rundown. That was Mike Kalinowski, everybody.
You got it.
So, Frank Janisch, I feel like there is no better time than after that incredible interview from Mike Kalinowski to wrap up things for us here on the 100th edition of the Schmoedown Rundown. I know we've had a lot of fun. I want to thank I want to thank all the guests. I want to thank Dan Moreau for making his first appearance on the show. Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy, Team Action. John Roca, of course, Mike Kalinowski, as well as Aaron Turner. Aaron Turner, I kicked him off the broadcast. I know. I didn't mean to. He was just spewing propaganda nonsense, so I felt like I had to. But Aaron, in all honesty, it's time to, I think, we'll drop kayfabe now here at the end of the show again. I do want to thank everybody who's made these 100 episodes possible. I want there to be 1,000 more episodes of the Schmoedown Rundown. And in all honesty, even though I didn't have any time with him, thanks to Paul Wolf for being one of the starting members of this show and for carrying the torch for the time that he did. Of course, Aaron Turner and of course Brian Davids. I don't think I don't think that it's not unknown that Brian and I had our issues on the show, but I do appreciate his analysis, and I thought that he was one of the smartest guys when it came to the game. I think that is a undisputable fact. So, Brian, thank you for your time on the show. And Frank, Chris, we did it. We did 100 episodes, and we talked about a lot, and we didn't talk about anything. And I think that is the most Schmoedownian, Rundownian thing that I think we've ever done, is talk about everything and not talk about anything. Frank, I look forward to not only future episodes, I look forward to kicking your ass in the Back to the Future match. And I'm excited. I got some tricks up my sleeve for it, but we'll see what happens. I'm not speaking about any corruption, but we'll see what happens in that. And I think that there's one person who we haven't really spent enough time on thanking.
Yeah.
And we need to thank Mr. Christian Harloff for making all of this possible and allowing us to have a platform on a weekly basis to come on your channels, to come on Collider, to come on the Schmoes No feed at the time, and now this Collider podcast, and talk about a game in which we love and something that we have a lot of fun doing. I know that sometimes we get off the rails, sometimes we're a little nutty, sometimes we're a little crazy, sometimes we go to Portland looking for things buried in sand. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. But I think that I would like to think that Christian appreciates what we do, and I know that he appreciates what we do, and we appreciate him giving us a platform and giving us a voice and trusting in us to deliver quality content across the Collider brand on a weekly basis, Frank.
Yeah, up top earlier in the show, I said I had to give the major thanks to Aaron for even being on the show, but Christian's definitely number two who allows me to be here. He doesn't have to. He can get whoever he wants, and there's hundreds of people out there in this community that would love to have this opportunity, and it's not lost on me for a minute.
Absolutely, same here.
I've just been like, it's right place, right time, and it had nothing to do that I had any previous experience or anything like that, and he was gracious enough to allow someone who had no experience doing this to grow with the show, and he had patience enough. I mean, if you listen to that clip Chris played earlier on the first episode, my God, it is awful. I want to put my head in the sand. It's bad, and he listened to that and still allowed me to do more episodes, and so he obviously believed in something. I don't know what, but I'm grateful for it, and it's been a hell of a ride, and get to know not only this community a little better, because I think if I was just a fan who watched the Schmoedown or who listened to other podcasts, Schmoedown podcasts, I don't know if I would be as heavily into the Schmoedown as I am now, because I cover it on this show. I don't know if I would have kept up doing the stats, to tell you the truth, because it's a lot of fucking work, man.
Sure is.
And
watch your language. Mama
well,
Janish might be watching.
Yeah, well, I think in this case it's a little warranted because it's a lot of work. And it's actually an embarrassing amount of work that I've put into it. It's gotten better. I figured out little ways to get around some stuff. But with that said, I think also, like mentioning the stats, I don't know if I would be on the show if I had not done the stats, because of I didn't have any previous hosting experience like Brad or even Aaron. I think he was doing a little bit something before he even started the rundown. And again, even to Brian David's credit, I mean, like he was pumping out his own shows, and he was very he's one of the people I learned actually a lot from about how to conduct a show, how to produce a show, and how to make your arguments or how to format and what have you. Even though he's no longer here, I still have a lot of respect for what he brought to the show, and I learned a lot. But with Christian, allowing me to get closer to the actual show, about going to matches at the studio, and just really helping me out in terms of making the show as best as it could be. Christian's been a really great person to meet. He's amongst many, and again, if it wasn't for him, I don't meet nearly half as many people as I've met, if any of them, and they've all been fantastic people. Brad, Chris, PJ out and Patrick out in LA. When I go out there, he lets me crash with him. If it wasn't for the show, I don't know if that stuff happens. So just doing this show has afforded me a lot of opportunities, and the opportunity to meet people, awesome people, talk to a lot of great people, and ultimately at the end of the day, I get to do this because Christian lets me. And thank you.
Yes, and I think that you summed that one up beautifully. All respect to Christian Harloff for just, even for me, for somebody who we didn't even know if I could really cover this thing, and saying, hey, can you come host it? Like 2 weeks
to be
after
honest, I didn't know if you could either, to tell you the truth.
I didn't know if I could either. I didn't know if I could either, but we figured it out for how many episodes have I done? 40 some odd episodes?
Yeah, like that, yeah.
Holy hell, we've done it. We figured it out some kind of way.
Wolf, yeah.
Definitely more than Paul Wolf. That is for
I'm
sure.
Sorry about that one. Okay.
Everything more than Paul Wolf. But yeah, I just want to shout out Christian Harloff and everybody over at Collider, and people I've gotten to know on a personal level, like John Roca, Christian, of course, and so many of those guys and girls over there, just taking the time and coming on this show and allowing us to sit around now for 3 hours on your YouTube channel and plugging away. It is time to wrap this sumbitch up. So, with any closing words, I think we've already said our closing words too many times. So we're going to close it now. This is an awkward ending to what's been actually a pretty good episode. I think it's decent, but I can guarantee you all one thing: watching now or later, the show next week will not be this long. It will not be as self-congratulatory, and it'll be highly focused on just the Schmoedown itself.
I'm kind of sick about it. Like, we've talked all this. I'm not even joking. Like, it's like we're at cringe levels, I think, right now. So we can.
Yeah, I think that we've passed the point of no return. And I think that we never need to do this again. And any anniversary special that we have coming up, we're going to go Carson, and it's just going to be a regular show. So for Chris Clark, at Chris Clark 8788, those numbers mean nothing. At Frankie J29, I am Brad Gilmore. Follow me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. Follow us on Twitter at Schmoedown RD, on Instagram at Schmoedown Rundown, and wherever the hell else you can find us. Just Google me. Do it now. I'll do it for you until episode 101, which is at this time now less than 7 days away. I'm Brad Gilmore for Frank Janisch and Chris Clark. This is the 100th episode, numero CN, of the Schmoedown Rundown, and we'll see you all next week.